Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Public Service CS Justin Muturi has refuted claims that President William Ruto failed to consult him during his tenure as Attorney General. A local daily reported that President Ruto did not consult him despite being the state's chief advisor. Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Appointments on Sunday, Muturi said the reports were out of context.
Sometimes our media, and we have to give it to them, are quite innovative. Sometimes how they innovate, sometimes can cause you a lot of jitters. If you read the story, if you saw the headline and you read the whole story, you could not relate the two. Because in the middle of the story, inside this, I think on page 2 or page 3 of that newspaper, they went ahead to say 99.5% of all advisories given by the Office of the Attorney General have been taken and implemented.
At the same time, Muturi called for greater transparency in government hiring, efficient service delivery, and an urgent recognition and reward scheme for diligent public servants. He vowed to overhaul the government's internship program to include state agencies and the private sector.
It may not assure them of placement, but at least priority when opportunities arise, especially now that there has been a pronouncement that those who are above 60 years of age will not have their contracts being renewed or extended.
Actually, I had noted the issue of priority, that yes, and I think we must take a lead from what the president said the other day when he was at a pass-out parade for the NYS recruit, when he suggested to the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Police and other security agencies that please, when you're recruiting, because the people that go through the NYS first of all get a 6 months paramilitary training. So it makes perfect sense that if possible, do about 80% of those, and they come from every corner of the republic.
Cooperative CS nominee Wycliffe Oparanya has defended his integrity, denying allegations of embezzlement of 1.3 billion shillings during his two-term tenure as Kakamega governor. This follows reservations on his appointment forwarded to the vetting committee by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which cited the allegations. But Oparanya dismissed the allegations as mere witch hunt.
The facts are not true. Nobody, and I want to say in front of the cameras, nobody has come to me to write a statement. I don't know, this prosecution is one-sided. I've never been given a chance to say my story. In August 2023, you remember what was happening. I was very active in demonstrations that time, August 2023. When I was in those demonstrations, I was called by someone to be told, because I was in demonstration, the ESCC were looking for me. And I asked that person, what has the ESCC to do with the demonstrations? I have served diligently for 10 years.
Test results have shown that the Mpox reported in the country was caused by a deadly strain that was previously only seen in the Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC. The Ministry of Health said the case was reported last week in a truck driver who traveled to Uganda, Rwanda and Tanzania. The World Health Organization said the strain, the deadliest seen so far, has now spread to multiple African countries. WHO boss Tedros Adhanom has said partners are helping affected governments including Kenya to scale up the response to interrupt disease transmission. The declaration is an alarm bell to help mobilize international coordination rapidly and streamline funding and development of vaccines, drugs and diagnostics. At least 76 people have been killed in Bangladesh amid worsening clashes between police and anti-government protesters. The unrest comes as student leaders have declared a campaign of civil disobedience to demand that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina step down. Police said in one district, 13 police officers were killed when thousands of people attacked a police station. The student protest started with a demand to abolish quotas in civil service jobs last month, but has now turned into a wide anti-government movement. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we may find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
Hapo. You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aya, City, do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda.
I mean, I don't know. What are they saying? How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes. My name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning. Welcome to Monday. How's happening on the roads? We still see that it's a early morning, so nothing much happening. We know the usual roads that we'll be looking out for. We know from the Thika Superhighway, from Kiambu Road, from Jogoo Road, from the Northern Bypass, from North Airport Road, Langata Road and Gong Road. How will they be today? We hope that they will be moving, but let's touch base with them in about half an hour.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. the only way to start your day.
It is, isn't it? Good morning. Welcome to Monday. It's the 5th day of August 2024. How are you doing wherever you are? How was your weekend? City, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah?
Yes.
How cold is it?
Man. No. This is, it's punishingly cold, man.
It's really, it's bad.
How do you survive winters, man?
It's bad.
Because you're told some places measures you minus, God knows what degree. Minus.
Yeah.
So this is nowhere near minus.
But, and yet.
And yet, it's painful.
It's crazy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
It's bad. Hii ni mbaya sana. You had a good weekend?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Did a little visiting. Did a little catching up with some friends. It was good.
Very good. Very good. Mine was good as well.
How was yours?
It was right. Also did a little visiting. On Saturday we were at I joined others at Green Park Estate in Athi River.
You used to live there, didn't you?
Commemorating 20 years of Superior Homes Kenya. 20 years, the developer.
You know, those fellows have done something marvelous.
Kabisa.
When you turn landscape of that nature into the viable investment that it is,
yes,
it's something to be to be lauded.
Oh yes,
because once upon a time it was just space, a lot of it. Then now you pass, and the manner in which those buildings have been put up is pleasing to the eye, even as you pass by.
It's a lovely place to live.
Oh, it is, huh?
It's a community, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, and in those 20 years, then the company has basically just grown from just developing houses in Green Park Estate to going to Kilifi County at Vipingo, 110 acres, Pazuri at Vipingo, more development coming up in Ruiru, about 300 acres coming up in Ruiru.
It tells you that these...
About 200 acres.
There's something that they do which people like. It's not complicated. There's a quality that they guarantee you, and that's why they keep growing. You don't grow like that if you're shortchanging people.
Yeah, you don't.
No.
You don't. You don't. And it's good to see, the founder of the company, Ian Henderson. This guy is a Scotsman, just a person who just says, okay, so let's try. Yeah, let's try. Let's try and do it. But let's stick to the promise. Yeah, so it was good. It was good being there. And then later on, I met with some groups, some people whom we're just in a WhatsApp group that's just become a community. A WhatsApp group that was started 9 years ago. And
9 years ago.
9 years, and it's still been very, very active.
Those guys after a while become like members of your family.
Completely.
You're amazed at the sort of things that you talk about, you communicate about, and what you know about individuals, what they know about you.
It's a very, very vibrant group called the Watering Hole.
Appropriate, isn't it?
Completely.
But it's what, a bunch of tea drinkers?
Well, it's come here and quench your thirst on matters of information. So all matters of information, what's happening in the country, what's happening globally. If you just want to keep abreast, that's the place. Plug in there. Many people, some who in senior government levels, others in private sector, senior private sector, in civil society, others who are just like me.
in media society.
It was a good one. Yeah, so let me tell you what we shall be discussing today. So, okay, Ndu says hi, sindio?
Yes.
Ametuma salamu. Watu wajue ya kwamba hii maneno inashughulikiwa. Very good. Very good, very good. Hii maneno ya Ndu inashughulikiwa. What shall we be discussing today? Philip Atale is the communications director at the ODM party. We have seen what's happened. ODM is not in government. It is only its former deputy party leaders and its former chairman who are in government. Okay. But the ODM party itself, no. It There's no cooperation. The future of political parties in Kenya, that's what Philip Patale will come and tell us about at 7 a.m. And then at 8 o'clock, we have seen the near conclusion of the vetting of the CS nominees, because we know that there were 2 others that need to be vetted. There's still the AG nominee and the nominee for the East Africa Community docket. Those will still be vetted. Evans Ogada, an advocate, a law lecturer, and an editor-in-chief of the Platform for Law, Justice and Society, will join us at 8 o'clock to look at the ayes, the ayes, the ayes and the nays of cabinet nominee vetting. What worked, what didn't work? How is it looking? Are you happy with how the questions were asked? Are you happy how the questions were fielded? What did you feel? We'll discuss that at 8.
Yes, you've seen I've taken a deep breath.
There's a lot, huh?
Yep.
At 9 o'clock, we talk about grassroots leadership and politics. What bedevils devolution? And the person who will be joining us is somebody who's in the devolution space as a member of the county assembly in Mombasa, representing the Old Town Mombasa ward. Abdurrahman Hussein joins us at 9 a.m. for that conversation. So those are the ones. We are live streaming the show. Ednah is here. She's done the thing. It's live on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on TikTok. Say hello. Let me give you the weather forecast.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga, not Muga.
He's here, and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman, another man marries troubles.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IEBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Ednah, it's you said the bees are the peas. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite. Opposite. Ukisikiliza unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
It's freezing cold in Nairobi. They claim that it is 12 degrees, but we all know it is minus 12 degrees. Kakamega partly cloudy at 17, Mombasa cloudy at 21, Malindi cloudy at 23, Kisumu 18 and mostly clear, Nakuru mostly cloudy at 11, Eldoret 13 and partly cloudy, Nyeri 11 and mostly cloudy. Very, very, very cold. Okay. Kampala 17 and clear. Dar es Salaam 23 and cloudy. Kinshasa 20 and mostly clear. Addis Ababa mostly cloudy at 14. Mogadishu sunny at 24. Lagos mostly clear at 25. Paris is cloudy at 15. Beijing is sunny at 30. And New York is clear at 24, while London is mostly cloudy at 16.
Intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Alright, tuendelee sasa, tusalimie watu ni wengi sana. Solomon Oluoch says happy that hiyo mambo ya ndu inashughulikiwa. Hakuna kitu. Eric says hakuna kitu. I don't know what you mean by hakuna kitu. Odera tuned in from the Republic of Nyanza. Ivan Omondi, Ivan Odera tuned in from the Republic of Nyanza. Black speaker seemed to push the nominees through supporting on answering questions. So people are commenting on how they felt about the vetting. Morning, Kenya. Now I understand the soundbite from Sifuna that to be poor in this country is a crime. Looking at some of the nominees to cabinet and their net worth. What? Childish questions for CS nominees. That's what Geoffrey Nyanyuki fails. Simon Orucha says, good morning. Where is Andu? Hii maneno tumesema inafanywa nini city?
Nashughulikiwa.
Very good. Alan Peter, ODM wants to be in government and opposition at the same time. Christine Murilo, good morning. Spice team, keep up the good work. Georgia Cheng, good morning. Benson Kahindi, good morning. Kiambuman, good morning. Mogere Kihara, Kinara, good morning. The Kikombe, checked in from Phuket. Shall I DHL some warmth? Ama it's too taxable? You're too much, but we shall apply for waiver. But it is too much. Charles Indieka, good morning. Team Spice, take vacation if it's cold. Kujeni, Worcester, where tutakuja huko. Good morning from Doha. Bernard Okello says, that's it. Malala still can't believe. Malala can't believe. Ilienda bwana. Kiti imeenda. Bernard Okello, good morning. Alex Minai, good morning. Bernard, Solomon Oluoch, Wanjiro, Mogeda Kenara, Joseph Gema, watu ni wengi, Robinson Kisero, all of you that you are online this morning, asanteni sana for joining. Abuto Kamias, Joe Mungai. Hi Eric, on Saturday my parents' 75th wedding anniversary was a huge success. To CT, the firstborn in my family was born in 1950. The lastborn in 1969. Where? The parents were marking their 75th wedding anniversary.
My friend, that one, those are
Saturday.
people who one wants to see, meet, talk to.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Joe Mungai, congratulations to your parents and congratulations to all of you as a family for sticking it together and marking that milestone with them. Where? That's a big one. Hiya. John K., do we have an opposition in Kenya anymore? Good morning, good people. Opposition to what? What are you opposing?
One country, one Kenya.
What are you opposing?
One president.
One president. Surely. City?
Operative word, one.
Kabisa.
Yes.
So we are still in the bees, eh?
We are in the bees.
Okay.
And we are in Botswana, as I mentioned last week. Yes.
Landlocked countries of Africa.
Absolutely landlocked country. This one is in Southern Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interesting thing about it is 70% of the country is desert.
70%.
Desert.
70%.
70 desert.
Very good.
It piqued my interest.
65% of Kenya is semi-arid.
Yep. We have a lot to complain about if we choose to. But on the other hand, I started reading about deserts. There are 10 deserts in Africa.
10?
Yes, there are 10.
Let me see.
Sahara.
Kalahari.
Danakil.
Danakil.
Yes.
Where is it?
Northern.
Up there.
Chalbi.
Neighboring Sahara.
Yeah, those ones. Chalbi.
In Kenya.
Namib. South. Guban.
So,
Nyeri.
Where is Nyeri?
Now, Nyeri is a small place. Most people don't even know about Nyeri.
Bwana, kwa mlima?
No, iko hapa karibu na Savo.
Watu Nyeri hakuna desert.
Hapana, si Nyeri. Ni Nyeri.
Nyeri. Tinyeri.
Asha. It is somewhere around Savo there.
In Kenya?
Yes, it is. Actually, what is of interest?
Kenya has how many deserts?
Kenya.
Of the 10 deserts in Africa, Kenya already has 2.
Okay.
Unaongeza ingine, please don't.
Nyeri. Yes. Right. And then there is Grand Bora Desert. That's somewhere near Dakar. There's these are smaller deserts that nobody knows about. Okay. There's the Lampul Desert. There's the Guban Desert around Somali. The thing that I found interesting about these deserts is how they are formed and how very diverse they are. Most people think it's just sand. No. Sand dunes are part of it. Okay. Some let me just give you the types. We'll look at more details tomorrow.
Okay.
There are subtropical deserts. There are coastal deserts. Okay. There are rain shadow deserts.
Rain shadow.
Yes. There are polar deserts and then there are interior deserts. Now, the interesting one that we speak about, Sahara, that thing traverses many countries. It's not that in one place. And the features of that desert differ from area to area.
Oh, it's not
it's not uniform. Nope. Yes. Tomorrow, we'll go into great details as to what it is that forms a desert and how do you qualify a piece of earth as being desert.
Okay.
Sawa?
Okay.
The proverb. Let's just mention that the capital of Botswana is Gaborone and it's also the largest city. Is that okay? You in Sawa?
Kabisa.
Okay, now let us look at the proverb. Voila le proverb. Where are you? Proverb. Where are you, oh proverb? Ha, proverb. Proverb. Where did I write you, proverb? In my eagerness and enthusiasm, proverb, where did I place you?
You wrote everything else about Namibia.
No, I wrote
about
it.
Botswana, but
I wrote it.
You wrote the proverb elsewhere.
I wrote it, but I'm trying to find where did I write you, oh proverb. But that I shall rectify very, very, very shortly. Even me, I'm smart.
That's the proverb.
Yeah,
when you don't see the proverb,
yes,
it's a proverb.
It's a proverb. No. This one, usijali sana. Right.
Umepata?
Nimepata.
Aya.
Very simple, very straightforward. He, we've heard this before. So, should I say it again?
He who loses the proverb.
Yes. Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood.
That's it.
Yes.
Eyes can see widely.
They can cross a river in full flood. Yes.
Interesting.
Interesting?
Interesting. Coming from a desert country.
Yes.
They talk about a water body.
Kabisa.
Okay. In the papers, we start with the Standard. Pain of defending Ruto and his ways. Raila Odinga's deputies tried to put up a show. They staggered between their hardline opposition against the government and the need to assuage their new boss. They never suffered indigestion for having to eat their words in the name of prescribing an elixir to the many issues facing the country. Mining CS nominee, for example, Hassan Ali Joho. Only a fool does not change his mind. I have been a big critic of the government. Now I have an opportunity to create a difference. Okay? The other one is Wycliffe Oparanya, who is the CS nominee for cooperatives and the Hustler Fund. About the Hustler Fund, I think this fund, if well managed, is a fund that will help our people. He was one of the big critics of the Hustler Fund. So the Standard today is saying,
media never forgets. You will say, we have heard. Then at a later time, we will remind you. This is what you said. So what did you mean, sir? We heard you, but just tell us what you meant.
So, Oparanya's net worth, 600 million shillings. 600 times 2, City?
Is 1,200.
Times 2?
2,400.
That is almost the worth that is Hassan Ali Joho's. Hassan Ali Joho is like 4 times wealthier than Wycliffe Oparanya. Are we together?
Yeah, we are together.
He's worth 2.36 billion shillings.
He's worth 2.63 billion shillings.
36.
Well, his confession, and that's what I'm going to call it, approximates the truth. The other fellows here, these figures they've given us, those are just to make us feel like they've mentioned.
They're all saying they're below $1 billion.
Yeah, they're all saying all sorts of things, 400 million. The amounts that they state are questionable because one cannot understand unless they can explain it. Before they explain it, it's questionable, all right? But also, is that really the true worth? Because one gets the impression that it's being minimized. The B word is being avoided. So let's just stick to $1 million. But it's a heck of a lot of money, man.
It's a lot of money, man.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. Joho 2.4 B, man. Pana pesa kidogo. Adani skeletons return to haunt JKIA New Deal. Legislators, authorities, media, experts and activists accuse Adani of stock manipulation, running offshore tax havens and environmental destruction. The Standard has given this story 2 pages. Page 4, page 5. They are looking at Adani and how it's performed in other countries. We'll look at that story. Young mothers go all out to defy laws of gravity. Students use verse to praise teachers. Fear of war after Hamas leader killing. Kenya hopes to rule roost in steeplechase. This one of young mothers. Young mothers go all out to defy laws of gravity. What do you understand from that headline?
Well, I don't know. On the face of it, it appears like they are flying, okay? Because, and not in a plane, they themselves are flying like a bird does. But the story tells us something a little different.
Yeah, the headline in actually the inner pages, the page 3.
Yes.
More young mothers adopt bottle feeding to avoid sagging boobs. We'll look at it.
That's the gravity we're speaking of.
That's the gravity.
Yes.
The Nation has the Kenyan stars on course for Olympic medals. We saw yesterday. Oh, man. Omanyala. Man. The 3,000 meter steeplechase world record holder British Chepkoech and world under-20 champion Faith Cherotich sailed through to the 3,000 meter steeplechase final at the Paris Olympic Games. Faces behind Ruto, Raila political deal. That's the main headline in the paper today for The Nation. Close allies of opposition Chief Raila Odinga at the heart of his political deal with President William Ruto held a series of late-night meetings before the naming of the new cabinet. The Nation can reveal. Dr. Ruto was represented by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and his Senate counterpart Aaron Cheruiyot. And then they have photos here. Oburu Odinga, Siaya Senator, Raphael Tuju, former Cabinet Secretary and former Secretary General of Jubilee, Kimani Ichung'wah, National Assembly Majority Leader, Professor Adam Zolo, University of Nairobi, lecturer, Aaron Cheruiyot, Kericho Senator and Majority Leader in the Senate, and Joe Ager, a long-time Raila confidant. Apparently these ones were meeting and they were like, sasa hii kitu tupatie nani? Na mtatupatia viti ngapi?
Really? And so that's the meeting that's going to decide who gets what?
That's what now they
that's what they'd like us to believe.
That's the meeting. Those are the ones who are now, after the agreement has happened up there, now these ones were now the ones who are sitting down to craft the deal. CS nominees haunted by ghosts of their pasts, alleged shady dealings, unresolved cases, questionable conduct and weak track records were among hurdles that were erected in the path of cabinet nominees in their quest to join the Kenya Kwanza government during vetting yesterday. This also has a story about new details on the helicopter crash that killed Professor George Saitoti and his then Assistant Minister Oro Jode, and they're interviewing Charles Washira, retired major, who is an aviator, a trainer, and an instructor and an examiner of pilots. City, you tell us about the Star, the Business Daily. I'll tell you about the People Daily.
Then I'll also mention the East African.
Okay.
But let's start with the Star. Top right-hand corner in teal green, evidence recanted, and we're a wonderful nation. Okay. Fresh twists offers relief for Tuju in fight with bank over 2.2 billion shilling debt. The story is told in full on page 9 of the Star. Okay? Tuju owed some money. They say, the bank breached a contract signed between the two. Nairobi court has heard. So anyway, the saga goes on. Okay? Response scaled up. Tests confirm Kenya Mpox case as deadly Congo strain. Okay? Now, this variant is spreading through sexual contact and non-sexual one like touch. Okay?
Of what? Mpox?
Yes.
Huh? So Mpox is also an STI?
Yep.
And also other touch, as long as there is bodily touch.
Yes.
Like a monkeypox.
Yes. Iko shida. All right? And given the traversing of terrain by truck drivers, movement of people across this region, the spread is very imminent. Okay? 3 years to polls. Bail bars political aspirants and state officials from Harambe's. Okay? Story on page 6, no value. Audit. KICD printed 1 million unwanted French textbooks.
Unwanted.
That is the story on page 8. Yes. And there's a picture here of abandoned books in Kaptagat Forest in Nandi County.
In the forest? That's an interesting story.
Nancy Kadungu revealed that 3 counties had only one school teaching the language, but clearly they printed for everybody.
So the books had been procured and distributed to schools.
But there was this little detail.
That there was no French teacher.
They didn't teach the subject. It's not complicated. It's like I remember the school I was chairman of the board of? Yeah, we got books that were meant for agriculture.
And you didn't have agriculture?
We did. It's just the numbers. Yeah, they give us very many books.
3 per student.
So you could even have 4 per student. So now you decide what you're going to do with it. Bang in the middle of the paper. Riches. Joe tops the list with 2.3 billion, while Muga declares 31 million. Now this sounds like someone who is talking about a certain element. But even the 31 million, you need to explain how you have it. Ruto's cabinet picks net worth 10 billion. If you add.
10 billion.
Most of the nominees list land, residences, and company shares some of their wealth.
So they're all in real estate.
This is voodoo.
And that real estate value goes up by over 100 million every year.
Yes, it can be real estate. You can have you can even breed whichever animal you see fit. We're going to ask, how did you begin this process? The present tense we understand. Past, very important.
The journey to where you are today.
Yes, it's what is important. Not that I have 3 cows. Okay, that we've gotten. How? KRA fined KCB Spire Bank 2 billion for remitting tax late. Why? Penalties were enforced at the end of June 2023. Taxman has aroused lenders over collection agency role. Remember, you want to pay taxes, you want to pay all these things that we pay the government. You can do this through the bank. Now they're saying these guys got money on the behalf of the KRA, and they did not remit the money.
So the way we pay to bank.
Through bank.
And then the bank is supposed to be remitting that to KRA. And the bank is not.
Late. They remitted.
But they are remitting late.
Late. Like you're told, remit by latest Monday. You remit Wednesday. Then you come to argue, there's just Tuesday in between. Late. We said Monday. Stop telling us days as though we can't read. EPRA caps Kenya Power National Grid deal to 10 kilowatts of solar. Okay? Real estate trade top banks first quarter loan defaults. Business in real estate, trade and agriculture sectors hit banks, meaning with defaults of 30.9 billion loan defaults. Just so that you know. Firms get 6 months deadline to register a Kenyan domain. Firms handling critical services such as telecommunications and securities have 6 months to register their web addresses in Kenya internet domains, the Communication Authority of Kenya has said. Okay? This is a move at safeguarding our cyber safety. Deposit rates hit 25 high as banks woo savers. Commercial banks have raised interest on deposits for the 9th straight month on an average rate last seen 25 years ago in a bid to entice savers in the wake of attractive returns from other asset classes, including government paper. Okay? Right. Let me just mention briefly the East African.
Very good.
I'm going to go to bang in the middle of the paper.
Okay.
All aboard, the SGR race is on. Tanzania gets off the block with a passenger service train on its electric railway. Ask, you can live Godway Dodoma and you can work in Dar es Salaam, just so that you know.
And the thing is chapping 160 kph.
Kabisa, you've arrived. So it's like you're living in Kitengela on an ordinary day and you come to Nairobi, 2 hours on the road, if you're unlucky. It takes over operations of its hanging rail from the Chinese and Uganda hires Turkish firm to launch long-awaited Malaba-Kampala line. Yani, we were first off the block with this one here. We are being overtaken.
Si unajua hii Kenya.
Sisi bado tuko na diesel bwana.
Na hata haijafika mahali imefika.
No, hapa tu Nairobi, bro. No, sorry, Naivasha.
Inaenda mpaka duka moja pale.
Duka moja, sorry, forgive me. Hapa duka 1 in Naivasha. Hii ndio mwisho wa reli.
In the People Daily, the headline, Ruto mocks the poor. Though President rode to power on the backs of the hoi polloi, he has stuffed his cabinet choices with millionaires whose riches laugh at the wretched of the earth. Why?
Poetic, isn't it?
Yeah. The people daily who are prisoners, take none. My friend. And then they have photos here of 8 of the cabinet nominees, the returnees actually. So they have Kithure Kindiki, 694 million, Kipchumba, 620 million, Alpha Mutua, 462 million, 801 million of Justice Muturi, 437 million of John Mbadi, 444 million of Rebecca Miano, 980 million of Aiden Duale, Migos Yogamba, who's going to education, 790 million. Higher. Then there's a story there, inside the battle to save Oparanya. Cabinet nominee Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, during vetting yesterday, the former Kakamega governor denied corruption allegations. He said he's only worth 600 million shillings and none of it was corruptly acquired. Sawa. Yeah, if you think that people can't earn honestly, shauri yako.
Question that I would like to ask is, do we know of anyone who has ever said, I am worth X and most of it is corruptly acquired? Or even just a tinge of it is corruptly acquired? No one ever says that, do they?
Nope.
So, yes. So hapana kutaja corruption, because now we start asking, why are you mentioning corruption? Who mentioned it?
Who said?
Kwa nini umeenda huko?
Who brought up the corruption issue?
Yes, exactly.
Hiyo ni mambo yako bwana.
Wewe sasa ndio unaongea hiyo mambo.
Haya, let's take a look at traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This computer just needs to go home. This computer is it's cold. It's just cold. It's now completely frozen. So, I don't know what's happening on the roads. I cannot see it. I was seeing it earlier. I can no longer see it. But let's just assume that it's moving. In case it isn't moving, you can tag us on X at SpiceFM KE and let us know where you are at. If you're on the road, how's the road looking like? Sasawa? Yeah.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Which story would you like to start with, City?
Well, I would personally like to look at the story on page 3. This Kenya Mpox case confirms to be deadliest strain in DRC.
Wow.
Okay? The Mpox report in Kenya was caused by a deadly strain that was previously only seen in DRC according to test results. This was confirmed by the World Health Organization, which noted this strain, the deadliest seen so far, has now spread to multiple African countries. The Kenyan case was reported on July 29th in a truck driver who traveled to Uganda, Rwanda and Tanzania, the Ministry of Health said. WHO boss Tedros, there's a different one, Admon, on Sunday said partners are...
It's not Gabriel Jesus?
It must be. Maybe he has. There's no African who has one name.
It was Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus.
Bas, Adnon. Adnom. Partners are helping affected governments, including Kenya, to scale up the response to interrupt disease transmission. I'm considering convening an international health regulatory emergency committee to advise me on whether the outbreak of Mpox should be declared a public health emergency in the of international concern. The declaration is an alarm bell to help mobilize international coordination rapidly and streamline funding and development of vaccines, drugs, and diagnostics. It also prevents unjustifiable travel and trade restrictions. The current outbreak is caused by Clade A variant, which can cause more severe illness and has killed about 3% of those infected in DRC. The US magazine Science also reported the sequences of the virus isolated from the Mpox patients in Uganda and Kenya show they were linked to Clade 1 virus. This was confirmed by the researchers who posted the sequence on the GSAID database, and the publication said. I chose this particular story for one reason. Every time you hear of a disease outbreak, once it is in this region, it's usually of enormous proportions. It's not just some mild thing. Usually, so you ask the question, when we do our surveillance, how is our response to these things? Because now WHO has come in. Do we have the means to actually ensure that we test these people? We know there are people who travel regularly across these 3 countries. Do we have a process where regularly anybody who does that is tested just to determine their health status? Remember, one of the problems we had with HIV was the very, very same process of traveling, more so among truck drivers, and their sexual habits. And that, in many, many ways, was argued as one of the causes that helped spread various strains of HIV across borders in this region here. Now, you have a disease that is transmitted either by sexual contact or non-sexual contact, like touch. Is that not deadly?
It's a serious one. It's a serious one. The Ministry of Health has issued several cautionary messages on this one, and saying that they're responding to it. I think I remember a statement by the PS for Medical Services, Mary Mudhoni, on the same a number of times. But yeah, I mean, this is a serious disease. Because remember when it was reported in Tanzania, and then there was, is it crossing over into Kenya? And that was the time when the high alert was issued by the Ministry of Health. Watch out for it. Let's see what's happening. The question is, like you said, are our health facilities properly and adequately equipped to actually respond? And what kind of response are they offering?
This is
particularly those ones that along the border counties.
This is something we always having to ask. Yes, we are always having to ask, because by the time you actually consider that it's actually acquiring a status that has caught the attention of WHO, you actually wonder, in reality, how far has it spread? Okay. Remember, if you look at how COVID spread, it started with just similar stories. There's this thing where it's called COVID. Before you knew it, it was a serious problem and people were dying. Right.
Oh yeah. There is a 2-page coverage of the skeletons of Adani's dark past exposed as JKIA takeover looms. In the high-stakes world of billion-dollar conglomerates, the Adani Group stands out as a symbol of ambition and controversy. At its helm is Gautam Adani, a man whose dramatic rise from a humble commodities trader to one of Asia's richest individuals is as astonishing as it's contentious. Yet beneath the glittering facade of his empire lies a human cost that extends far beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. Gautam Adani, whose Sanskrit name translates to sun and darkness, embodies the duality of his businesses. Celebrated for entrepreneurial success, yet ensnared in controversy. The accusations have created a battle for power, pitting his empire against the less fortunate who seem unable to fight back due to Adani's political connections and financial muscle. So, for example, it is telling us what's happened in other jurisdictions. Legislators, authorities, media experts, activists accuse Adani of stock manipulation, running offshore tax havens, environmental destruction, and human rights abuses. Australian Senators Richard Di Natal, Janet Rice, and Peter Wish-Wilson published a report on their website with the allegations. This is what they said, these senators from Australia. In 2013, an independent committee established by the Indian Ministry of Environment and Forest found incontrovertible evidence that an Adani Group company operating a large coal-fired power plant and port in Mundra, India, had violated the conditions of its environmental approval and caused destruction of mangroves in a conservation area, obstructed creeks and the tidal system, failed to prevent salinity intrusion into groundwater, and constructed an airstrip without approval. That's what the report partly reads. It also says Adani's fortunes have soared across a dizzying array. Let's see where this story comes back to Kenya. Under Adani Airport Holdings, they secretly seek to take over JKIA for 30 years. The plan includes changing aviation laws and policies to prevent competition and maximize profits, overriding Vision 2030. The existing litigation regarding the land at JKIA will be the responsibility of the Kenyan government. That's what the private investment proposal, which the Standard has seen, states. Adani has also demanded the establishment of a fund by the state to cover damages if the JKIA deal is terminated, regardless of the reasons. The plan keeps Kenya's 38 airports stagnant and prevents development of new airports without Adani's approval, a deal which President Ruto has publicly defended. Unasikia? It was basically saying that if you want to develop any other airport, Moi Airport in Mombasa, Kisumu, you must talk to Adani first. Adani will handle all losses and disputes, while the government will finance the project and manage existing issues. He'll also control land taxes, tax exemptions and fees, fix and raise prices, and repatriate earnings. Here's an interesting bit.
Yes.
An additional runway is not required until the end of the concession period in 2054. An additional runway, I'm quoting, is not required until the end of the concession period in 2054, Adani said, reducing its role to managing the airport and refurbishments only. I thought they were coming to build a new runway.
So what are they going to do exactly? I mean,
they're saying we don't need a new runway. So they're just coming to put up new terminal, refurbish the terminal.
We actually do not need Adani to do this for us. Not really. What was at the forefront in trying to sell this bid was the new runway they were going to build.
I thought so.
Essentially, the narrative was it was akin to building a new airport. And it sounded flattering. It sounded good. But also remember, there was the thought that if you're going to take over all the airports in the country, then it means that even when it comes to the upgrading of the airports, that they'll be, be doing that very same thing. You know, these plans we have for Isiolo, you where and where. But if you, from what you're reading, they focus only JKIA. What sort of deal is this?
So this story is also looking at all the other areas where Adani has been in operation and where issues have been raised. They say U.S. media reported this year that the group has denied any knowledge of an investigation, adding that the stocks plummeted last year after Hindenburg Research accused the company of serious financial misconduct. This is about the company's founder who was under investigation for alleged bribery linked to an energy project. Bloomberg Media had reported that the probe led by New York and the Department of Justice fraud units also targets Azure Power Global. In Australia, where the Adani Group's environmental record is under fire, a report filed with the Australian Parliament paints a grim picture of environmental devastation, detailing allegations of illegal land clearing, destruction of protected mangroves, breaches that have left the local communities suffering. The Carmichael Coal Project in Queensland has been a particular focus, with critics arguing that the approval process failed to consider Adani's checkered environmental history adequately. Adani Transmission Limited is also under investigation for the use of black money associated with hidden profits by overvaluing capital equipment imports and the use of an offshore holding company established by the Adani Group in Mauritius for receiving the extra money from the inflated invoices.
It's called stock manipulation, okay, and also accounting irregularities. But then, given that some of these complainants are in the West, I have to ask the question, is it that Adani was actually providing them with some serious competition? That there are irregularities, that I understand fully. I have actually never seen any organization that wants to do business with us that has been under microscope like Adani. Okay? The Chinese companies that come to build roads and what have you, and those who are involved in the expressway and those who are involved in the SGR did not receive this scrutiny. Adani has. What would we have found if we had taken the scrutiny? Now remember, this same airport, Greenfield project, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. We have been found guilty of breaching a contract we had with the Chinese company. And we are going to pay. Okay? So one has to ask the question, do we get into these deals so that we can actually build the airport, refurbish the airport, or do we get into these deals so that we can actually abrogate them and so that we can pay?
So we can pay.
Yes.
Because you see here, for example, this deal says that the government shall establish a fund and commit to pay Adani if this contract is cancelled for whatever reason.
And I listen to that.
It's like we're already preparing.
No, we've already decided we're going to...
We are going to cancel this contract for some reason.
Let me ask the question. When the Chinese were given this contract, I take the view, and I'm going to take the liberty of assuming that they are found to be equal to the task, isn't it? What was stopping us from going back and saying, we are sorry? Please, let's just pay a small penalty for the misconvenience, not even inconvenience, miss. And then once we've sorted this out, can you continue and build? Because the one thing we've seen, those things that the Chinese have built, they are built, we see them.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
So, what prevented us from going to those guys and saying, sorry,
do this, build this.
Just build, so that we don't have to, because now...
And this time, let's actually, because initially we were pursuing another let's this time pursue a PPP.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please. That's something we can understand. You're giving someone 30 years, a 30-year rule, unfettered, can't be competed with, no.
And they will not put up a new
terminal
runway
until 2050.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a joke.
No, there's nothing very serious about this.
The UK is burning, Bana City.
You know, look at that thing this morning, and I couldn't believe it. Everywhere. What on earth is happening?
What? So here's a story in the BBC, and I was actually thinking to myself, this story of what's happening in the UK is not getting as much publicity in the international media.
No, neither is the looting and the vandalism that is taking place. It is not.
It's whatever is happening in the UK is like sort of.
Let's keep it quiet. Let's keep it quiet. Yes.
The story in the BBC UK says that there will be an emergency response meeting in Downing Street today after more than 150 people were arrested following violent disorder in UK towns and cities over the weekend. That's what it's being called, violent disorder.
Okay. Violent disorder.
Yeah. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer condemned an attack on a hotel housing asylum seekers in Rotherham and promised those involved in unrest would face the full force of the law. It's called unrest. Police responded to violent scenes in Tamworth, Middlesbrough, Bolton, Harlan, Weymouth, among other parts of the UK. The Prime Minister vowed to do whatever it takes to bring these thugs to justice as he addressed the nation yesterday. COBRA is, it means Cabinet Office Briefing Room A. So COBRA meetings are those meetings that happen there. It's an emergency response committee, a get-together of ministers, civil servants, the police, intelligence officers and others appropriate to whatever they are looking into. Today's meeting of the emergency committee will be intended to provide the government with an update on the violence over the weekend and the response in the coming days. It will also involve relevant ministers and police representatives. So this is what happened on yesterday. The Prime Minister televised address yesterday warned those involved that they will regret taking part in this. People in this country have a right to be safe, and yet we've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, the Prime Minister said. Other minority communities are singled out. Nazi salutes in the streets, attacks on the police, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric. So, no, I will not shy away from calling it what it is, far-right thuggery. That's what the Prime Minister has called it. Far-right thuggery.
That's what they're called, is it?
Yeah.
All right.
Not xenophobia.
No. You know, somehow the word racist is completely absent from that entire conversation, isn't it? But clearly, race is at the heart of it, wouldn't you say?
That's what far-rightism is all about. It's us versus them.
It's us versus them.
Yeah.
Or them versus us. All right.
So, I mean, these attacks were horrendous.
But unprovoked.
And
you just go about your business, suddenly people land on you.
So these guys attacked a hotel yesterday, a Holiday Inn. This Holiday Inn, some of the workers there are immigrants, and then it was also housing some asylum seekers.
Yes.
They attacked this hotel. They went into a bin and they lit it up. So there was a fire in this hotel. There was a police officer who was hit with a blunt object, passed out. What's happening?
You have to ask the question. Those who perpetrate it, to what end? What do they actually see themselves achieving with all this?
They want you people out.
They want you people out.
You people.
We people.
Get out of our country.
They should understand. They came to us and bothered us. We didn't go to them.
They want you people who leave our country.
Read your history and understand how it is you got to this place. You're looking at the present, isn't it? Look at the past that brought this about. Then understand.
This is it's one of those. It's one of those. But probably, I don't know, because I was wondering why is it not getting as the kind of coverage that it would be getting if it was elsewhere?
If it was on this continent or the Asian continent, God Almighty,
to be called racist,
adjectives,
xenophobic attacks, not nothing about far-right thuggery.
Dictatorial.
Yeah. News time. It's 7 a.m.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Gen Zs have insisted that the anti-government protest dubbed Nane Nane March will go down on Thursday as planned and warned goons against infiltrating their peaceful protest. Speaking on X, they've insisted that they are not an anti-government movement but a pro-good governance movement.
No one is against the government. We are against the bad leadership. If that means we are against the government, then we are against it because they're not listening to us. Nikianza kuongea story ya leaders, I will lose it because it's always something that pisses me off. But Nane, we march, we go. If Ruto hata shuka, we have to send the message, whichever the case. And people should not walk alone. People should be in groups. If you're on space, make sure you update. VPNs were discussed. Everything that has been said here, just use that information for your own safety.
Public Service CS nominee Justin Muturi has refuted claims that President William Ruto failed to consult him during his tenure as Attorney General. A local daily reported that President Ruto did not consult him despite being the state's chief advisor. Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Appointments on Sunday, Muturi said the reports were out of context.
Sometimes our media, and we have to give it to them, are quite innovative. Sometimes how they innovate sometimes can cause you a lot of jitters. If you read the story, if you saw the headline and you read the whole story, you could not relate the two. Because in the middle of the story, inside this, I think on page 2 or page 3 of that newspaper, they went ahead to say 99.5% of all advisories given by the Office of the Attorney General have been taken and implemented.
At the same time, Muturi called for greater transparency in government hiring, efficient service delivery, and an urgent recognition and reward scheme for diligent public servants. He vowed to overhaul the government's internship program to include state agencies and the private sector. Cooperative CS nominee Wycliffe Oparanya has defended his integrity, denying allegations of embezzlement of 1.3 billion shillings during his two-term tenure as Kakamega governor. This follows reservations on his appointment forwarded to the vetting committee by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which cited the allegations. But Oparanya dismissed the allegations as mere witch hunt.
The facts are not true. Nobody, and I want to say in front of the cameras, nobody has come to me to write a statement. I don't know, this prosecution is one-sided. I've never been given a chance to say my story. In August 2023, you remember what was happening. I was very active in demonstrations that time, August 2023. When I was in those demonstrations, I was called by someone to be told, because I was in demonstration, the ESCC were looking for me. And I asked that person, what has the ESCC to do with the demonstrations? I have served diligently for 10 years.
In the UK, there will be an emergency response meeting in Downing Street today after more than 150 were arrested following violent disorder in UK towns and cities over the weekend. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer condemned an attack on a hotel housing asylum seekers in Rotherham and promised those involved in unrest would face the full force of the law. The Prime Minister vowed to do whatever it takes to bring these thugs to justice as he addressed the nation on Sunday. Monday's meeting of the Emergency Committee will be intended to provide the government with an update on the violence over the weekend and the response in the coming days. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's starting to build up in the usual areas this morning, so we can see that Thika Superhighway coming towards town is already jamming and looking busy. As you approach the Muthaiga interchange, Jogoo Road is busy along the usual places at Makadara, and then you get into Landis Road, which is busy as you get into Haile Selassie Avenue. And then we also can see that the Mombasa Road is getting a bit busy along the Bunyala roundabout, and this is because of Aerodrome Road as well coming to join in, bringing the traffic from Langata Road. How do we see at the Timor Junction? It's okay right now as you go up Raila Odinga Way. Let's see what will be happening on the roads in about 25 minutes' time.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, it's 7 minutes after 7. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is The Situation Room, the agenda setter, live on SpiceFM, on KTN News, KTN Home, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, from Nairobi to the world. Asante sana for tuning in and for joining us. We have a message for you from the Aga Khan University Hospital, and it's a very important message. And it's talking about your health. So when did you last do a full body medical checkup? You know, like when you go to a garage and they just do a 24-point check, right? To check your medical status. So it is an important thing, isn't it?
It's absolutely important, actually.
It's always important, and medics advise, have an annual checkup. Just walk in, not because you're feeling at inaumwa na kichwa, no. Just walking and say, I have come for a checkup.
Remember what they say, prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
Go for that checkup and figure out what is happening to you. It is far, far better than when it actually happens, and then you have to go to hospital when it has happened. By that time, usually, you're in dire straits.
They say very many conditions take long for you to notice them.
For them to manifest.
For them to manifest.
Yes.
But a medical checkup will be able to actually detect them and get them early.
It tells you.
It
informs you. Yes.
It's screening. So you go in there and get a screening done. And it's available across the Aga Khan University Hospital medical centers, wherever they are. So go to the nearest one, tell them, hey, you know what, nimesikia ati nikuje muniangalie mwili. Fanya 24-point check. They will do the 24-point check. They'll check your blood sugars. They will check, they'll do some screening of your health and see how well you're doing. And it's affordable. For as low as 9,950, you can get a comprehensive medical checkup at any Aga Khan University Hospital clinic in your neighborhood. All right?
Yes.
It's just 9,950. Just go and do it. Get it done. And just now know what you're dealing with. Just know you're fine. And also at that point when you're getting the check, the health practitioner will tell you, okay, so let's talk about your diet. Let's talk about your eating. Let's talk about your lifestyle habits. Let's talk about your exercise. You get all that for 99.50. Yeah?
Yes.
Haya. Sasa hapa tunaanza kuzungumza mambo ya multi-party democracy in this country, okay? We know that Kenya is a sovereign state, and the sovereign are the people of Kenya, and everybody has the responsibility to uphold and defend this constitution. Also, that Kenya is a multi-party state. And this I am going to quote Article 4 of the Constitution. Declaration of the Republic. Kenya is a sovereign republic. That is 4.1. 4.2. The Republic of Kenya shall be a multi-party democratic state founded on the national values and principles of governance that are referred to in Article 10. Okay? We are a multi-party democratic state, and we have invited our next guest so we can talk about what this means and how it plays out. This next guest is the communication director of the Orange Democratic Movement Party, Philip Etale. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Karibu sana to the hot seat of the situation.
Asante sana. This is my second time here.
Karibu.
And I hope it's going to be exciting.
Better than the first.
The first was just in the run-up to the 2022 elections. And I was with a gentleman here called, what was he called? Anyway, I can't remember his name. Yeah.
All right. Siti.
Yes.
Please welcome Philip with the day's proverb.
Yes. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the landlocked country of Southern Africa called Botswana. Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood.
Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood. What do you think the people of Botswana are telling us?
Well, apparently this proverb suits me very well because towards the end of this month, I'm going to be in Gaborone in Botswana. I'm going on the invitation of a friend of mine who is vying for a political seat. A member of he's my former classmate. He's called Fenyo Segoko. And this tiny Southern African country reminds me of so many things because it has people who believe in one thing that is called democracy. Because, when I was with this guy, he told me a lot about Botswana. And I like their culture. And when they come up with such kind of proverbs, and then I remember where I come from, somewhere in Western Kenya, I think we share a lot in common. So, yeah.
Well, boss, so give us the interpretation of the proverb. You've told us you're going.
We like the poetry and the prose.
You're visiting Gaborone, it's okay.
The joy of
your classmate is vying.
Wonderful,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's the interpretation of the proverb?
It simply means that we have to be careful with what we do and the decisions we make as a people in the interest of the whole nation and the people who live in the country. That's what I think the proverb means.
Sounds like it's talking to you, people in leadership.
He is. That proverb, I wouldn't want to go into the depth of it in relation to what is happening in Kenya, but I will say, as a people with responsibility to ensure that we uphold democracy in this country, we have to be careful with the decisions we make.
Okay.
They may come to haunt us at some point. That's my take.
A good one. What's your understanding of what the Constitution means in Article 4 when we say that Kenya shall be a multi-party democracy?
First, we have to understand what is the definition of a political party. For the time I've worked with politicians and in a political party, I know a political party is a group of organized people or individuals whose main aim is to capture political power. A political party must not be there just for political power alone. It must be there for posterity. And the ideology that a political party is formed should be one that resonates with the needs of the people. Now, when you talk about political pluralism, multi-party politics, I vividly remember when I was a small boy, I think I was in primary 1, 2, 3, 4 there. In the late 80s, I used to like watching news, and that's what motivated me into becoming a journalist. And I could see how the political class then, those who are struggling, those who are fighting for political pluralism, the likes of the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the late Masinde Muliro, the late Martin Shikuku, the late Kenneth Matiba. There was a gentleman called Ahmed Bamahiriz. There was another man called George Nthenge. There was Professor Rashid Mzee and others. Then there were a crop of young politicians who called themselves the Young Turks. The likes of the Honorable Raila Odinga, the late Henry Obuocha, the late George Anyona. We had Dr. Muhisa Kitui, and quite a number. And I think City can confirm because they were there those days.
Yes, I was also young then.
Yes.
It may not seem so, but I was. And I remember all those people.
I used to follow their politics, and they used to follow the ideology that they held, that we need a country where we can have political parties, not just for political power, but for posterity. That we can have political parties that can spearhead the ideology of the people and the aspirations of the people. Political parties that will stand the test of time. There have been political parties. Then we had KANU. And when I read history, back in the day, we had two political parties, KANU and KADU. Then when Mzee Jomo Kenyatta fell out with President Jomo Kenyatta in 1967, he went and formed a political party called the KPU. And that was the beginning of political pluralism then. But somewhere in the middle, KANU managed to sweep away other political parties and asserted his authority on land to become the only party.
When you started answering my question, and my question was, what is your understanding of the constitutional ideal for Kenya shall be a multi-party democracy? You said, let's begin by understanding what a political party is. Okay? So let's just cut to the chase. So what's a political party? And so what then does multi-party democracy mean?
Multi-party democracy means many political parties, many ideologies, but one common agenda, one nation.
Okay. So ideology is an important part in this conversation.
Correct. A political party must be formed on the basis of an ideology. Like, for instance, from where I sit, the ODM party stands for social democracy.
That's from where you sit?
Yes. That is the ideology of our party, the ODM. That we can have equity among Kenyans and equitable distribution of resources. Above all, we have to uphold the basic principles of political pluralism. That we can have as many political parties, but we must ensure that the people of Kenya are not suppressed, the people of Kenya are not intimidated, the people of Kenya receive services that they deserve, and that there is good leadership and governance.
When you say then that ODM is the ideology is social democracy, what does that mean? How can we tell?
A social democracy is a system where everyone enjoys the fruits, the national cake. For instance, when I say that we have to have equitable distribution of resources, that which we stand for, we mean that every part of this country must feel part of the governance and the leadership. That no single part of this country should be isolated because of the basis of how they voted and their political affiliation. That when you capture state power, which is the core of a political party, you have to ensure that even if you're in power on ODM or whichever party, that person who never voted for you must feel part of the government, must enjoy being in the country, not to be isolated because they never voted for you. Because I've seen on many occasions a politician will say, nyinyi hamukunipigia kura, kwa hivyo maendeleo will go to another part where I got votes. That is not leadership. If you're an elected, when Kenyans elect you to be their leader, they expect a lot from you, even those who never elected you, because politics is about competition.
So is there any other party in this country that you can say is markedly different from the social democrats that ODM are? Give us, from what we are seeing in the country right now, let's say the political parties that have members in parliament, the political parties that have members in county assembly. Is there any party that is markedly different from ODM that you can say, this is the ideology of ODM and this is the ideology of this party and they are different? Or can we say all parties in Kenya then are social democrats?
I'll speak from where I sit. I've traveled to different jurisdictions in the name of social democracy and learning a lot about social democracy. ODM believes in socialism, that we can have a country, a united country, where people will be able to express their feelings, their ideas, and anything that is in their heart without being intimidated. In Kenya, I wouldn't say that there's any other party that is a member of the social democracy which the ODM subscribes to. If I look at the ruling party, UDA, they lean more on the side of communism because they have been closely associated with the Chinese People's Party, the CPC, which is a communist party. And a lot of what they do is borrowed from the CPC system. Let's go back to the ideology of communism. Remember when Karl Marx started the movement in 1840s, communism. Then Vladimir Lenin improvised it. And then the people like Mao Zedong in 1920s came up with a system that now is China. You see, the Communist Party of China, which has swallowed other political parties in China. You find that, in China, any party that tries to show its head, kuonyesha kichwa, inagongwa. That's not the kind of politics that we want in Kenya. And perhaps that's the reason why the first 2 years of the Kenya Kwanza or UDA administration, we have had turbulent moments where people have been protesting more than ever before. Not just people calling for good governance, people calling for proper leadership, good policies, but people saying that we want accountability, we want good leadership, we want good governance and good everything to be done in accordance with the law.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You say the ODM party believes in the principles of social democracy.
Correct.
Okay. Social democracy, those who define these things say it's a middle ground between capitalism and communism. Okay, so somewhere in the middle. Would you say that the ODM manifests these principles within its own party?
The ODM manifests its principles within its own party?
Yes, meaning in the manner in which ODM is run and the manner in which they conduct their affairs, would you say it manifests the principles of social
Absolutely.
democracy?
It's only that Kenyans have never given the ODM a chance to be in power.
What do you mean?
And you cannot exercise.
Kenyans have voted for members of parliament in ODM. Kenyans have voted for governors in ODM. What do you mean Kenyans have not given ODM a chance?
There's a thin line between being a member of parliament and state power. State power is where everything is controlled.
And what is state power?
And you can exercise all these if you have that state power.
What is state power?
That you have like Kenya is a presidential system. If, for instance, someone in ODM is elected president of Kenya, then we can be able to articulate our issues,
Philip,
execute
go to Mombasa
our ideology.
County. The executive in Mombasa County is ODM.
Correct.
The majority in the county
MCAs,
assembly is ODM.
Yeah.
Do they have executive authority there?
They do exactly what we stand for.
Can we say that in Mombasa, people can actually feel ODM and its social democracy?
Correct.
Okay, explain.
A lot of activities that are done in Mombasa are in accordance with the principles and the ideology of the ODM. The social democracy that we stand for. For instance, if you go to Mombasa, if you go to Kakamega, if you go to Turkana, all these counties, Siaya, Homa Bay, there is that sense of feeling that something is happening on the ground. And people are enjoying the services that are being provided by the respective leadership. Nobody has raised concern about the leadership in Mombasa, the leadership in Siaya, the leadership in Kisii. Apart from those,
the Auditor General would disagree with you. The Auditor General would disagree with you. In the queries that the Auditor General raises about counties whose governors are members of the ODM party have also had issues. Let me explain why I asked the question. There is what you mentioned about state power emanating and simply being grounded within the executive. Mm-hmm. Are we saying that perks that citizens enjoy by virtue of being citizens, like GCDF, what is it called?
NGCDF.
Yes, NGCDF, the county allocations. Now we've gone to the MCAs, haven't we? Okay. Are we saying that in any way that all these benefits that individuals who are not necessarily within the UDA ambit do not enjoy these?
You've spoken about the NGCDF city. The NGCDF is governed by the national government.
Yes, it is.
It's controlled from the top at the national level.
Does the money get to every constituency in the country?
It does.
Yes.
And members of parliament are accountable because in the past, members of parliament used to have a control of this NGCDF.
And we saw
Nowadays, they don't.
How that one went, didn't we?
Yes, we know. Everyone knows what happened.
Yes.
And people used to use the fund for their own political expedience and other things. But now that is controlled from the national level, I think it's well streamlined and projects, if you want to start a project, you must give a proposal to the national office, then it's approved, then it's implemented. Now, when you go to counties, you spoke about the MCAs. MCAs work at the whims of the executive at the county because there's no clear law that provides for a ward development fund. It has never been executed. It's never been implemented. So you'll find MCAs following the governor all over the governor. Everywhere the governor goes, they're there because they want favors from that particular county boss. But if we had a law that provides for clear allocation of the ward development fund, which I think should be prioritized by Parliament, then MCAs will be independent and be able to execute their agenda at the ward level. Now, at the county level, if a government or a county boss finds themselves in a situation where there is plundering of public resources, then they should be held responsible, regardless of the political party they belong. But what I believe in is that we should have accountability at every level of government, national level and the county level, so that we can have the resources reaching out to the people and going to the intended purposes that they are supposed to serve.
Let's take a break. It's 7:30. Our guest this morning is Philip Atale. He is the communication director at the Orange Democratic Movement Party. We are talking about the future of political parties, multi-party democracy in this country. Is it safe or is it under threat? That's why he's here. We'll be back and continue this conversation shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the Situation Room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. And even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again.
Character is like pregnancy, you cannot hide it. You know, people hiding here and there, you know, but after 2, 3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you were showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say, you cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
So what's happening on the roads? We know it's that time again where Monday morning and people are all rising and coming back to work. So North Airport Road is building up along as you come towards City Cabanas, and then of course the Outer Ring Junction. But then we can also see Mombasa Road getting a bit busy at the Nyayo Stadium Nyayo Stadium roundabout, and then at Bunyala as you head towards town. Jogoo Road busy at City Stadium roundabout. We can see actually there's a lot of traffic, as you can see, building up along Magatara as you head towards town. Landis Road is also getting busy as you get towards Wakulima, and on Wakulima, that whole stretch of Haile Selassie Avenue is building up. Thika Superhighway, it has stretched beyond Allsops, and it's looking very busy as you come towards town. And then as you come to the Kiambu Road interchange at Muthaiga, that, as usual, is the busy part. How is Ngong Road looking coming towards town? It's okay. Just a bit of snarl up at the lights and the roundabout at City Mortuary. How is Mbagathi Road looking? It's all right, of course, as you get to the City Mortuary roundabout. It's also getting busier there. Langata Road is okay, heading towards town. Anything that you think we ought to remind people about, let us know. Tag us on X at SpiceFM KE.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, 27 minutes to 8. Our conversation with Philip Atale continues. He is the communication director at ODM. We're talking about multi-party democracy, the future of multi-party democracy. The Constitution says that Kenya shall be a multi-party democracy, okay? And we know that we have that system in place. Now, when ODM and other Azimio parties were organizing demos last year, one of the big concerns that was being raised then by the Azimio coalition partners was a threat to multi-party democracy. And they were saying that the Kenya Kwanza administration, led by UDA, was threatening multi-party democracy by reaching out to parties and members who belong to parties that are not in the ruling coalition and wooing them to start voting with them or to start siding with them. And he cited, Jubilee MPs who are in parliament who have even had started attending meetings of Kenya Kwanza. There were other members who had even moved already into Kenya Kwanza even before the election had been completely concluded. We have people like the Maendeleo Chap, whose leader even joined the government as a cabinet secretary. And as Emilio was saying, this is an affront on multi-party democracy. Does ODM have the same stand today when its two deputy party leaders, its chairman and others were approached to join government?
First, I would say the two deputy party leaders have resigned. They are no longer officials of the party. Number two, the chairman resigned. He cannot serve in the executive when he still holds that position. Number three, the Secretary for Political Affairs, Mr. Pio Andai, resigned. He can no longer serve in the executive while holding that position. Therefore, the ODM party is going to reorganize itself. It doesn't mean that ODM has been swallowed. That is not true. People are saying that ODM imemezwa, ODM is going to die. I will tell you, ODM is there to stay. Because the principles on which ODM was founded still hold. We still believe that we have a chance to right the wrongs in this country. We saw the signs of Kenya Kwanza trying to swallow political parties ab initio when they formed government, when they realized they did not have the majority in the House, because the Azimio had the majority of members of parliament by number. When they realized that they do not have the majority, the supermajority, to pass their bills, their motions, and their agenda in Parliament, they decided to hoodwink, to dangle the carrot to political parties that they thought were small.
Philip, did they abrogate the Constitution? Did they go against the letter and the spirit of the Constitution?
They did, absolutely. They went against the letter and spirit of the Constitution, because the law does not allow a government of the day to poach members from a political party or a coalition.
Does it prevent them from doing so?
It does, but in Kenya, the law means nothing. Those in power will always use the power they have to intimidate and suppress other people and other institutions. In Kenya, the law, it's not like in the West where they respect the law. Like I remember you remember the representative of North Carolina, the Democratic Party lady, when she saw that her ideology within the Democratic Party was no longer tenable, she decided to resign, quit altogether, and went back to the people. And I think she won on a Republican Party. So I think the best that, because that's what we still stand for, and even the political parties registrar will tell you, it's not right for any political party to try and get into the affairs of another political party. And it also says in Article 14 of the Political Parties Act that any member of a political party who spearheads the ideology of another political party is deemed to have resigned and joined that political party. So when the Kenya Kwanza administration started poaching, and it started with parties like the UDM, and it swallowed members from Mandera. Then it went to Jubilee. There's still a tussle in court. There's a faction that says we are the bona fide leaders of the party, another that says we are the bona fide. So we have two factions within the Jubilee party. That is what you call an affront to democracy in the country. We shouldn't be allowing such kind of things to happen today.
In earlier years before the 2010 Constitution, in the 90s that you say that you were very actively engaging with the news, we used to see KANU reaching out to members of the opposition and wooing them to join KANU. right? For one reason or the other. And that was one of the reasons why the whole principles of multi-party democracy were even being put in the constitution, is because of the lessons learned and what was seen, right? KANU just going in and wooing members and taking them.
Yeah.
This time, UDA or Kenya Kwanza or whoever has gone deep in the heart of ODM and wooed its leaders and made those leaders actually resign from their positions in the party to go and serve in government. Is that not an affront on multi-party democracy?
It is.
When you actually go for the two deputy party leaders, the chair of the party, the secretary of political affairs, secretary of
political affairs, senior members of a political party, you go and pick them and they end up resigning, and you leave now that party dealing with replacing them. Is that not an affront? This is different from
on multi-party democracy. Is that not raiding a party to weaken it?
This is different from what the Kenya Kwanza administration did to when they approached
UDM.
When they approached UDM, Mendeleo Chap, Jubilee.
Yeah, UDM is still intact.
But within Kenya Kwanza, they are within the pressings of UDA.
And when time came, UDM wrote to Azimio and said, we are pulling out of this Azimio coalition. We are going.
Yeah, they did after the 60-day or 90-day period that was allowed in the agreement.
So one could argue that UDM is still intact, that UDM, it's still, this is the operation of a multi-party democracy, where a party decides to exit a coalition,
Latiff,
as agreed in their constitution, and to go and join another one. I'm asking about raiding a political party and picking its best.
One thing I want to say
from that party.
One thing I want to say for certain is that the ODM party is not going anywhere. The ODM party is still going to perform its mandate within the minority side of parliament of the political divide. That aside, the 4 or 5 individuals who have been approached to join government, we said as a party, and it went out to the public, that these individuals have been released by the party to go and help the failing UDA administration to get back on its feet and do whatever they can do there to help it. But the ODM party will continue with its role of defending the people of Kenya, defending democracy, fighting for the rights of the people, and also fighting for good governance. City, when as a father, when you see your house is crumbling, your house is coming down, everything is in disarray, what do? You reach out to your neighbor for assistance. Hey, bro, come and help me here. That's exactly what Ruto and his administration did. Because, I've never seen a situation where maybe 19 years ago when Kibaki was under duress and sent home all the cabinet ministers, this is the only other time that the government of Kenya has sent packing all the ministers because of incompetence. There was laxity in office, and Kenyans had lost confidence in the government. And I can assure you, the 4 gentlemen and a lady who have been approached from the ODM to go and serve in the Kenya Kwanza administration, it's like in football, a player being offered to another team on loan, and they go there and outperform those who have been there. Then the mother club will say, "Oh, we want you back,"
Philip,
and that's exactly what is going to happen.
Philip, it's exactly that is not exactly not what is happening. If ODM had not kicked such a monumental fuss about what the executive did as you say, raiding. I don't think they raided the other parties. I think they came to an understanding. I didn't see anybody kicking and struggling and fighting not to be taken to Kenya Kwanza. They went, which means they arrived at an amicable understanding. If the very thing that we noted ODM pitched a fit about is the very thing that they're now doing, and with their blessing, because according to you, they have said they're on loan, let them go. So where does ODM stand? I mean, on the one hand, you had an issue with what the government did. On the other hand, now you are loaning them your people, and these are leaders. This is the leadership of ODM, and then you're telling us that ODM hasn't actually joined the government. Surely.
You know, one thing I like about the nominees from the ODM, I watched them during the vetting exercise, and each one of them said, I have resigned from my responsibility in the party, but I remain a loyal member of my party, ODM. And
what was that supposed to mean?
They still belong to the ODM. Okay. They have not joined UDA. They have not joined Kenya Kwanza. Okay. They have just joined government. You know, there's a thin line between government
my point and exactly. But Philip, that's my point.
Administration.
Philip, that's my point. That's my point. So essentially you're saying that ODM was crying wolf when other people joined, but now when they join, because ODM has joined, you can call it what you like, then now they have joined the executive, but they're still... But the other parties also did not rescind their parties.
Yep.
They retained their parties, but they're part of government. So there really is no difference, is there, Philip?
You know, that's the executive and legislature. In parliament, I expected all political parties, all members of parliament elected on the minority side to remain intact and do their job as required by law. But you know, going into executive means you can go there and again, you can still come back to where you belong at the end of the day.
Philip, this one is proving difficult, isn't it?
It's not. They've gone, they're just there to work, then they'll come back to where they belong. They're still members of the ODM party.
Hey, Philip. Hey.
You know, City in Latiff.
Is Adan Kainan a member of Jubilee?
Adan Kainan is a member of Jubilee.
But he has not
But
left
sitting
Jubilee.
in parliament, he sits on the minority side.
Yes.
But he propagates the ideology of the majority side.
Okay. So here's an ODM member who will be propagating the ideology of the Kenya Kwanza administration.
You know, one thing that we need to understand is that Kenya...
The difference between
is a
Wycliffe
sovereign
Oparanya,
state.
if he gets approved to become a cabinet secretary for Hustler Fund, right? And he's an ODM member. What's the difference between him and, like I said, Sabina Chege or Adan Kainan, who would come and vote for the Hustler Fund in the House? What's the difference? If Adan Kainan can vote for the Hustler Fund approval in the House, and Wycliffe Oparanya, ODM member, which is a member of Azimio Coalition, can go and implement the Hustler Fund, what's the difference?
You know, I would say perhaps Kenya is at crossroads at the moment, because this whole problem has been occasioned by bad governance, poor leadership, and poor stewardship of the people at the helm of the Jubilee Kenya Kwanza administration. Because had President William Ruto and his administration been steadfast from the word go when they formed government that we are going to serve the people of Kenya diligently and with all our hearts and mind, then we wouldn't be where we are today. Kenyans wouldn't have poured on the streets to protest about bad governance. And I'm saying, without batting my eye, that had the ODM or Azimio been given the mandate by Kenyans to govern this country, we will not be having such kind of scenarios where we are going to poach people from the opposition to come and help us govern. We will not.
If you accept to be poached, how can you say you would not poach yourself?
When the poacher comes to poach, it means the poacher has a weakness somewhere and he has seen some brilliance in the persons
In
they
the
are going to poach, in the poachee, because they don't have that kind of intellectual capacity on their side.
When the poachee willingly accepts to be poached, what does that tell you about the ideology of the poachee?
It's service to the
character
nation.
of the poachee.
It is service to the nation.
So in the
We
interest
want-
of serving the nation, had ODM formed governments and the people had risen the way the people have risen now, or whatever challenges emerged, ODM would not have hesitated to cross over to the other side and look for a political party. Approach UDM,
Wiper, or whoever else you need to approach.
In fact, our members are just going to prove what Kenyans have been missing, what we've been trying to fight for in this country, that we want to provide good governance, good leadership, and ensure that there's proper service delivery to the people of Kenya. They are going to outdo those who are there. And you know, mark this day. Today is the 5th of August 2024. These gentlemen and lady who are going to serve in this government are going to overperform. And you will tell me one day that you told us on the show that these people are going to perform. They will. And Kenyans will say, actually, you performed well.
And credit to ODM?
Credit to ODM. Because we have sent them there in good faith. Go thee and serve the nation. And indeed, stick to the ideology of the ODM.
Let me also, since you're on record, let me also be on record that they will definitely try their level best. But it is not going to be an easy task to do what they're saying. The likelihood of them simply falling by the wayside in the manner in which their predecessors have is more likely than that they will actually succeed. Because if I listen to the interviews and what they were saying they will do, they were not convincing at all.
They did. Listening to the cabinet nominee for finance, for National Treasury, Mr. Honorable John Badi, I think he performed very well in matters finance, how he's going to stabilize the economy of the country, the shilling against the dollar. You see, such kind of stuff. And that's what Kenyans want.
That one, everybody who has studied what he has studied can talk about. That's not what we're discussing. Njuguna Ndung'u is a man who actually understands this field well. You don't become a professor by not understanding something.
He researches these matters
this is
on a
what
daily basis.
And he had a tough go of it. I am not saying that John Badi is not capable. Stalwart fellow, means well. That's why I said, I am certain he will try very hard. It isn't a question of the efforts that he will make. Government, you know this very well, better probably than I do. Government doesn't function well on the basis of one's willingness and on one's efforts. Government functions on how you understand it and how you're able to work with it.
You see, the performance of a minister or a cabinet secretary for that matter solely depends on the goodwill of the person at the helm, and the buck stops with the president. Reason why the previous cabinet secretaries underperformed is because there was micromanagement of affairs.
And we're not going to have that now.
If that stops, then I can assure you the persons who've been nominated to serve.
Do we still have the same president? Because if you talk of micromanagement, it means, and the top is just one, the executive is the president. If indeed, as you say, it is being alleged that he micromanaged, you want to tell me that suddenly he's going to stop micromanaging?
If he's a good listener, if he's a good learner, then he will know that micromanagement of public affairs is detrimental. And if he wants government to survive, his government to survive the full 5 years, he must give absolute power to these cabinet secretaries to work. Because each individual is going into those ministries with their own expertise, ideas, and what they want to achieve at the end of time.
Let me ask, is that position an executive one, the CS Finance docket?
It is. Actually, it is. Initially, in the last dispensation, we had 2 executive ministers. That was the local government.
Yes, and finance.
Finance.
Exactly.
But now it is the National Treasury that the only CS that wields executive power is the CS for Treasury. Because you sign, you approve documents, policy documents, without even...
So there you have it. He actually has the power.
Yes. And I expect him to perform. I expect Honorable Mbadi to perform at the Treasury.
That is if his nomination is accepted.
If it is accepted. If it's accepted. He is a performer. And I would say all the nominees from our side are performers. There's this lady from Turkana, Beatrice School. And one day I would wish you invite her on this show. She's articulate in whatever she does. In her field, she understands.
You know her. Why don't you make the arrangements? We will gladly welcome her to the show.
I will ensure she comes here.
Yes.
She is going to perform. And I can assure you, without any contradiction, that the nominees from our side are going to perform in this administration. And they'll come out shining and bright.
I'm still concerned about the future of multi-party democracy in this country. Because it's supposed to be allowing people to join a party because they align with what that party stands for. And Philip, let's just be realistic. In this country, people, how many members does your party have, ODM?
In terms of membership nationwide?
Yes.
About 5.6 million.
Signed up members?
Signed up members.
And how do they sign up?
We've been recruiting since the party started in 2005. And now I would say we are the first political party to go digital. We've been recruiting online using a short code, and members have been recruiting. And, one thing I like about the Political Parties Act now, initially you spoke about KANU poaching members back in the day when President Mo was in power. Those days there was no act that guided the survival, or rather the well-being of political parties. We used to have registrar of society. Political parties were registered as societies. But with the enactment of the Political Parties Act in 2012, we came up with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. Now political parties were no longer referred to as societies, but now political parties, institutions for posterity. And now that we have the Political Parties Act in place, I would say the political parties can now perform their roles within the precincts of the law, within the jurisdiction of the political parties registrar, because she's a custodian. The lady is a custodian of all political parties. Any political party that goes against the law can be deregistered.
So she reins them in.
She reins. Now, one thing I want to say is that, with 5.6 million members, and nowadays you can, if you feel dissatisfied with your political party, you can also resign from that party by writing to the party and the register of political party, because now all registers of political parties are kept by the political party registrar. So you find someone, I'm not happy with what your party is doing.
You can leave the party.
I want to quit.
You can leave the party if you want. My question is on the advancement of multi-partyism, where we know that there are these many political parties. This is what they stand for. They have this number of members, and this is how they are run, and this is what they stand for. Now, when you see political parties such as the big political party, an old political party like ODM, saying, okay, we have donated members this time. In the last administration, we are supporting these ones. In another administration, maybe we may join these ones. You ask yourself, what's going to be the future of this discourse on political parties? Is it going to be a properly structured way of engagement, or is it going to be whimsical? Because that's what many feel. Yeah. So as you conclude in 20 seconds.
Let me ask a question. Do you know the oldest political party in the world?
No, I don't.
No, I don't.
It is the Democratic Party of the US. It is the oldest political party in the world. It's been on and off power. And the ideology still stands. The ODM party was formed just after the 2005 constitutional referendum.
Yeah.
And we still maintain our status in society. Now we are the oldest political party with the largest following across the country. And we believe the ideology that we stand for is that which will continue propagating. As a party, we are not going to look back. We are focused, and ODM party is going to deliver in this country.
Philip Etale, Communication Director, ODM Party, has been our guest. Thank you for coming. Come again soon. It's 8 a.m. Time for the news.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Gen Zs are gearing up for another round of protests this week in their continued push for reforms in the country. Speaking on X, they've insisted that the demonstrations dubbed Nane Nane March will go down on Thursday as planned and warned goons against infiltrating their peaceful protest. This lady is one of them.
No one is against the government. We are against the bad leadership. If that means we are against the government, then we are against it because they're not listening to us. Nikianza kuongea story ya leaders, I will lose it because it's always something that pisses me off. But Nane Nane, we march, we go. If Ruto hatashuka, we have to send the message, whichever the case. And people should not walk alone. People should be in groups. If you're on space, make sure you update. VPNs were discussed. Everything that has been said here, just use that information for your own safety.
This even comes as President William Ruto makes adjustments in his government, including incorporating opposition leaders in his cabinet. And although he bowed to pressure from the Gen Zs and withdrew the Finance Bill 2024, which triggered the protests, President Ruto has continued to defend the bill.
Wengine wakapiga no, hiyo kitu yote ikapotea. Sasa imerudi tena niende nifanye karabati ingine. Unaona vile watu wananitesa sana, ya watu wanasumbua. Na ni fitina tutupu. Sijui umewekwa nini, sijui ya kansa, sijui imewekwa nini ya mashamba, na ni yote ni porojo na uongo.
Gender Cabinet Secretary nominee Stella Langat has said there is a need to address poverty in communities to curb cases of early marriages and female genital mutilation. Appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Appointments on Sunday, Langat said most of the communities she interacted with during her time in field administration and which practice FGM have a high poverty index. Langat noted that there is also a need to facilitate girls to ensure that they get an education by ensuring that each community has a school they can attend. She also called for gender equality.
There are initiatives under the Gender Inequality Commissions and proposals to initiate issues on amendment of the Constitution to address the caps which have not been addressed under the legislation. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am aware also that the issues of two-third gender rule is a big challenge, especially in leadership under the National Assembly and appointee positions, because we are lacking the legislative platform where operationalizing the two-third gender rule is supposed to be guided through.
Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary nominee Wycliffe Oparanya has said the Hustler Fund is capable of lifting Kenyans from poverty, but its actualization was rushed. Oparanya told the Parliamentary Vetting Committee on Sunday that the legal structure of the fund needs to be considered. He said its first task, once approved, will be to seal loopholes to ensure the fund is sustainable.
I know I was among the people who are opposed about the Hustler Fund, and I had not known the facts about the Hustler Fund until now. I've been briefed about the Hustler Fund. I think this fund, if well managed, is a fund that will take our people from poverty. The only problem, through my briefing, the only problem is that this fund was launched in a hurry without proper legal structures in place.
In Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has appealed for protests to end after bloodshed during 3 days of demonstrations over a deepening cost of living crisis. At least 7 people have died and more than 700 have been arrested since Nigerians nationwide rallied on Thursday for the first of 10 planned days of rage. Tinubu has defended his economic reforms, which the protesters blame for their hardships since he came to office in May last year. The president said the protests had been hijacked by looters in some areas and ending the unrest would create room for dialogue. The demonstrations were organized via social media using the hashtag #EndBadGovernance and inspired by the recent protests here in Kenya. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so what's happening on the roads? We can see North Airport Road, my friend, all the way from Embakasi, from Nyayo Estate Junction coming towards City Cabanas is very busy. Outer Ring Road is busy. And then Jogoo Road, as usual, it's busy. And then Kangundo Road is also busy. Thika Superhighway, it stretches beyond GSU headquarters, coming all the way towards town. As you get to the Pangani interchange, it gets busy because it's meeting with the Kiambu Road, very, very busy section. Wangari Maathai Road is moving. Limuru Road is moving. But Wangari Maathai Road, you'll just find slight traffic, but it's moving. The only issue now here is in Ngara, heading towards the Globe Cinema roundabout. That's where it's also very, very busy. Landis Road into Haile Selassie, very busy. Mombasa Road is busy. Aerodrome Road, it stretches into Langata Road all the way. So T-Mall heading towards town. You're in Madaraka, traffic. You're in Aerodrome Road, traffic. You get into Bunyala roundabout, traffic. You get to the Railways Bridge, traffic. All the way to town at Haile Selassie roundabout. Mbagathi is also busy at the City Mortuary roundabout. All those sections are looking pretty tight.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is 7 minutes now, coming up to 8 minutes after 8. Good morning, and thank you very much for keeping it locked on Spice FM, Kenya's biggest conversation. We have been here since 6 a.m. We're going to be here until 10 a.m. Monday to Friday. We're usually the three of us, Ndu, Eric, and CT. Maneno ya Ndu, CT? Inashughulikiwa.
Kabisa.
Yeah, very good. Very good, very good. Yeah. The Aga Khan University Hospital tells you, please, do several multi-point check on your body. Like pime oil, angalia bushes,
brake fluid,
kama kuna leakage anywhere, angalia kama
ball joint
thyroid ends ziko sawa, unaweza tembea vizuri,
steering wheel,
kama umekata diff
ama pressure tire iko sawa,
all those things. Go and get a full body checkup. It's important. And why is it important, City?
It's important because, as they say, prevention is better than cure. If you take the time to actually understand your well-being, you will get to discover if there is a problem in its early stages, and that is to your advantage. It means then you can sort it out, it becomes a problem. Because in any disease known to mankind, in its early stages, it can be sorted out, cured, taken care of. When you let it become part and parcel of you and it's full-blown, then you have a problem.
Yeah. It even becomes more expensive to deal with it, to treat it, to address it. But if you go and Catch it early, then you know. Also, you just go and have a conversation with the medics and they'll tell you, all right, so we advise that you do this. We advise that you watch your diet. We advise that you exercise more. We advise that you take more water. You do it because of this and the other.
Yes.
Because of where you are at, you're at borderline this. Especially things like diabetes and the other lifestyle diseases.
Yes, these non-communicable diseases, they will tell you, and don't assume that they're an old people's disease or just they're only a lifestyle disease. You could be as fit as a fiddle and you'll still exhibit some of these conditions, but you can't know unless you take yourself to be tested comprehensively.
Yep. For as low as 9,950 bob, you can get a proper comprehensive medical checkup at any Aga Khan University Hospital clinic, any near you. Just go. Is there a clinic near you, Aga Khan University Hospital? Go. Tell them, niko na pesa. Fanya checkup. They'll tell you, boss, karibu sana, sign here, nini, and you'll be sorted. Yep. Very good. Our next conversation is going to look at what we are seeing in the headlines, and this is, at the end of the vetting. Well, it hasn't ended. There's still 2 candidates who haven't been interviewed, who haven't faced the parliamentary committee. But this majority of them that have went until yesterday, and what came out of it, pain of defending Ruto and his ways, that is the story. And this is, those who have been incorporated from ODM, and now they have to come in and say, Oparanya, for example, had said, Hustler Fund. God. It's the most useless thing anyone could ever think of. Now he's like, by the way,
this Hustler Fund,
I think it's actually a brilliant idea. We just need to be
carefully. Just carefully.
So this is it. So that's what we're discussing, the vetting and how we saw the vetting happening. Cabinet nominees outline ambitious plans for their dockets. Those were what was in the papers. CS nominees haunted by ghosts of their past. So in this conversation, and then of course there's the People Daily, right? The headline is the People Daily. Read it, City.
Ruto mocks the poor.
Bas. Though the president rode to power on the backs of the hoi polloi, he has stuffed his cabinet choices with millionaires whose riches laugh at the wretched of the earth. Where? We have invited an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, who is also the editor-in-chief of the Platform for Law, Justice and Society, and he is also a law lecturer. His name is Evans Ogada. Evans, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How you doing?
Niko salama.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good to be here. Asante sana.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room. It's not that we are interviewing you. I mean, you haven't been nominated to be anything.
There's no vetting taking place.
It's just the hot seat.
No, iko sawa. The warmth is felt.
Very good. Very good.
Yes, sir.
So first assignment is for you to listen to CT. He's going to give you the day's proverb.
Okay.
He said this, for the next couple of weeks, he'll be bringing proverbs from landlocked countries in Africa. Do you know how many landlocked countries are there in Africa?
How many? Are there 3 or 4?
3 or 4? Name them. Name the ones that you think of.
Uganda is
one.
Ethiopia. In West Africa, we have, which one again?
Why don't you finish East Africa first before you go to East?
Ethiopia, Uganda.
Think Lapset. South Sudan.
Brother,
South Sudan, yes.
You didn't do very well in geography, did you?
That was one of my favorite subjects.
Really? It's a Kenyan thing. When you ask a question in a forum like this, you think you're in an exam room. So now you're going to panic mode.
Things evaporate.
Things which you know.
They evaporate.
They just go. Anyway, they're 16.
16 countries landlocked.
Yes.
Okay.
We are in the Republic of Botswana. Let me just mention one thing about it. It's a very interesting political setup, government. It has a unitary dominant party parliamentary republic. Can you imagine that? With an executive president.
Unitary
let
dominant
me just repeat
party,
it so that you get
parliamentary.
it. They have a unitary dominant party parliamentary republic with an executive president.
Sounds like it's similar to South Africa, isn't it?
They've mixed it nicely. Yes. We should consider also mixing it nicely. Okay?
So it's a parliamentary presidency.
Yes.
But the president comes from the dominant party.
And his executive.
Yes. South Africa's this one.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Sawa. Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood.
Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood. Wakili, what do you make of this?
You will always be keen to wade through whatever disaster, whatever floods you face. You're basically fighting for your life. Am I right?
Oh, by the way.
Who knows, man?
No. Kenyan, you see? People went through exams. The beauty of the interpretation is that you can't possibly be wrong.
It's yours.
It is your interpretation.
Yeah.
So in terms of marks,
yes,
but full.
Asante.
And we ask it because every time we ask our guests, we hear of interpretation that we couldn't even have imagined. And they all speak to the same proverb.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. It's perspectives. So, Akili, we've seen the vetting.
Yes.
From Thursday into Friday, Saturday, and yesterday, various nominees went before the parliamentary committee.
Yes.
Okay. And they were being vetted for their suitability to join the cabinet, having been nominated by the president.
Yes.
Let's begin from the legal standpoint.
Yes.
Why is this vetting important according to the law?
Well, the Constitution requires that those who occupy public office be as clean or near clean as Caesar's wife. I know City will be excited by that. So that usiwe na dosari. You are somebody who is of integrity. Integrity means that you will do the correct thing even when nobody is watching. So that is why we go through the ritual of vetting. We try to get the best in terms of our citizens to occupy public office.
So this is the principle.
That is the principle, and it has a long history. If you go to the Romans, the Greeks, the English constitutional system, we have antecedents where those who go to the office, public office, are the best. The animal kingdom, the leader of the pack is usually designed to be the strongest, the wisest. That is the essence, the thinking around vetting. Yes.
So why vetting then? Because you could argue that the appointing authority is required to look for the best, the ones with the highest levels of integrity to appoint. And you'd assume that when the president, for example, nominates, they have already looked at all those. Why does he have to go to parliament? Because it's the same thing. When we have the Chief Justice goes through an interview panel, that panel is expected to look for all aspects of the best, integrity, competence and all. Goes to the president, it goes to parliament, and the Chief Justice is then subjected through the same. Why is parliamentary vetting important?
Parliamentary vetting is important for the reason that our system of government is presidential. We have a presidential system. The president is supposed to get a seal of approval from the people in terms of, yes, this is the best in terms of cabinet secretary. So since we cannot all go to parliament and say, yes, Rais huyu ni mzuri, we will, in terms of theory, we will rely on our representatives in parliament. My MP for Embakasi East, Babu Owino, will speak on my behalf and say, huyu yuko sawa. We endorse this candidate because he is the best for the position. That is the essence, that's the theory, that at least is the desire when we go through vetting. Yes.
And because Parliament will have to subject this process through public participation,
yes,
it means that the people are the ones who are directly vetting the nominee.
The people have, through public participation, and I'm glad we are having this conversation when we
have the Decision Finance Act 2023 just out, which emphasized what public participation is. Public participation is a separate power track, and it was intended to narrow the gap whereby we used to elect leaders, they go to parliament, they do what they want. I have said this publicly and even in court, that these fellas do not necessarily represent us all the time. So to bridge that deficit, it's a conceptual deficit with democracy. That's why we have public participation as a power track that is inherent in the people. The people give their views. So you, the decision maker, you parliamentarians, when Eric, Latiff, CT, myself give you opinions, at least consider those opinions and say, I will consider CT's to Ogada's because CT makes more sense in this manner. Ogada, you do not make sense because of reasons A, B, C, D. You are giving meaning to public participation. And this also has historical antecedents. We have what we call the Boule, B-O-U-L-E. It used to be a small platform within the Greek democratic setting where people will come and sit, waongee, the tafakari about what has been said, and decision is made from that small pool. That is the condition that public participation intends to correct, whereby the citizen is not far removed from the democratic decision-making process. Yes.
What we've seen in Parliament in the last 4 days, does it encompass all that?
Well, I saw my senior, the Speaker of National Assembly, Senator Wetangula, read some material ostensibly from the public. I have a problem with that approach in the sense that we do not know how many people sent items regarding particular nominees, and we do not know if these nominees addressed specific questions that were presented. So from a public participation point of view, Speaker Wetangula is not being accountable to us. Bring all those questions, say for this particular nominee, we got 10 questions. We are going to present those 10 questions to him. You're either going to respond to them in written format or you'll respond to them orally. We will make our consideration based on your responses.
Do we know whether this happened?
I don't
know. Because at the beginning of the exercise, the speaker came and said, we received several memoranda from the public, 1,300 or plus. And then upon scrutiny, the speaker, the office of the clerk of the National Assembly that was receiving them, determined that some of them were did not meet the threshold of what was expected to be brought here. Some were sending applications and saying, Ogada does not fit. Here is my CV. Replace him with me instead. You know, that's what he said. Some of them were applications. Others were matters that they considered were not addressing the question on the table. And then there were others that were, that passed. But then thereafter, how those that were considered to have passed or processed is what is not clear. That's what I'm asking. Do we know whether, by watching the interviewing, whether any of them came and were told there were adverse questions, or there were questions raised of you, there were adverse mentions raised of you here, and we need you to respond? Do we know?
We do not know. And the English term opacity comes in. You're working in circumstances that you are the decision maker. You are the one who can determine what comes in, what does not come in. We are not, as a public, privy to some of that material, because as a question of accountability, and accountability is a constitutional principle, you need to tell the public that for candidate Ogada, we had 30 questionnaires. Host the on our website. You can obliterate 1 or 2, 3 issues, but host them on our website so that we look at what is there. We have questions on your integrity. We have questions on your earnings. When you operate that way, the public is able to follow. But when you tell me that, we determine that this does not meet the threshold. Number one, what is the threshold? Because for you to determine that something does not meet the threshold, you are required to give us the parameters of the threshold. So what is that threshold? Is it for you to determine the threshold and then continue to determine whether it meets or not? It's a problem.
You know, the discussion around public participation, the discussion about representation, get to the heart of this matter.
Yes.
And perhaps it becomes clearer because of the protests that began on the 25th June and where we are right now. Because for the first time, the one subject that has eluded discussion, accountability, is now on the table.
Yes.
And it is a center of everything. Because when you say there are people we have elected, then we are hesitant to say the representatives because we've elected them. But the representative aspect of the election is not very visible. Then comes this issue of those who are nominated. Now, what I find, well, let me call it interesting. I was about to use the word disturbing, but what I find interesting is this. Did it need the younger members of our community, of our society, to point out the obvious to us?
It was not needed because accountability, public participation, you go back to even our traditional African communities. There's a late professor from Ghana, George B.I.T., who did a fantastic job in writing about the concept of distooling. City, you are the chief of Clan X. You were supposed to be the custodian of this community's interests. The moment you stopped having a conversation with your people and accounting to them, this is what the number of bags of grains we have in the granary. This is the number of spears and shields we have for our defense. And you do things, wewe kivyako. You hoard everything, wewe kivyako. You go against the oath of office and expectations of this community. They will distool you. These things that politicians like sitting on African stools, that is the stool process, the enthroning process.
It's a symbol of power and authority.
Power and authority.
Yes.
So the moment you go against the requirements of that community, the Akan, Ghana, West Africa have a more elaborate process.
Yes.
You were literally taken out of the stool and told you cannot sit. And that is what we have with the modern democratic process as well. That if you cannot meet the standards and expectations of the citizen, then you are not fit to occupy office. And that is why we need to know.
Which brings in the question, part 2 of my question.
Yes, sir.
Do we have an understanding of what the requirements for vetting should be? Because they go before Parliament, people ask questions. Is there a standard? Are we, or are our representatives, are they mandated to have a certain understanding of what they must probe? Because, financials all over the papers. Everybody is rich. We've got that one. We've understood perfectly. And the people daily did a good thing in saying Ruto mocks the poor. There, they understood that one. Then there is the issue of character. There is the issue of what sort of person is this that we are dealing with, a little of his history. And that's where the memorandum that was sent in come in. Because these, we believe, are from people who have bothered to figure and to look at the history of these individuals, and they're saying, look, this person should not get this job. And the reason is because of this. Now, there may be other issues that one needs to look at. Then you want to tell us, we are benchmarking and we are basing this criteria on this. So that when you begin asking, we can actually see whether the threshold has been met or not.
Yes.
Does such a thing exist?
We have templates that guide, and we start with the Constitution, Chapter 6, particularly Article 73 and 75 of the Constitution. They give broad general parameters. Then we have the Leadership and Integrity Act, distilling what requirements will be expected of any occupant of public office. The law, the tradition, the law has been there. The Constitution has been there. The tradition of enforcing the Constitution and living to these ideals to Shida. Because you see, like Chapter 6, it makes a clear enumeration of the fact that the office is above the person. So that if you have anything, like one nominee is facing questions from EACC about his tenure in a past office, ideally that candidate should not have been even considered for nomination. We bwana kaa kando pembeni, clear your criminal suspicions kwanza, then you come to the table when you're clean. But here you see, I could see even the interviewers helping him to answer these questions. There's one who was overzealous enough to give a very warped legal appreciation of things. There's a candidate there who has some hotel worth billions of shillings and could not explain how he came about building this hotel. So these are questions of integrity, and you need to explain them. For example, Eric, it is not enough for you to tell me that in the last 2 years, my wealth portfolio has increased by 150 million. You are earning a salary as a CS for, how much do you earn? Is it slightly close to 1 million shillings?
Yep.
Assuming that you earned your salary, tax deductions, nani, you could not possibly make that amount of money. So where did you get this rest of the money? As a question of accountability, you need to explain.
Yes.
Properly.
Not just explain. You're supposed to explain and provide evidence. Because explaining is easy. I did this, I sold maize, then I actually bought strawberries. That one is easy.
So this should come from, like, sort of an accountant.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That shows that this is how this wealth has actually...
Yes.
And the Auditor General as well. This is an independent office.
All right.
To confirm some of these things.
Yes.
Let's take a break. As we go to the break, I want you to mull this question.
Yes.
In a proper interviewing panel, when the Public Service Commission is interviewing principal secretaries, each panelist in the interview panel has a form. They all have a uniform form where they are ranking and rating candidates. Same with the Judicial Service Commission. With this one in Parliament, is there any uniform form that they say? So on this particular one, I score this candidate 8, and then the others score 5 or so, or is it just up in the air? Huyu mimi amenifurahisha sana, huyu wacha ingie. It's time for that break, 28 minutes to 9. Our guest this morning is Advocate Evans Ogada. He's a law lecturer, Editor-in-Chief of the Platform for Law, Justice and Society, the ayes and the nays of the cabinet nominees vetting. Also, would like to see from your comments, what did you make of that entire exercise?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Waliletea fujo Moi mpaka wakapata cooperation. Wakakuja wakasumbua Kibaki mpaka wakachukua nusu mkate. Wamekuja wakazungusha Uhuru hapo mpaka wakaenda na handshake, program yetu ikapotea, BBI ikaendelea, tukazama, tukaingia kwa madeni. Sasa mimi nimewaambia, hii serikali hii, mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla. Hakuna nusu mkate, hakuna handshake, hakuna hiyo borojo.
Jana nimeona wale wazee tulishinda. Ati hiyo mzee akisema ati he will not be coerced or intimidated to joining our government. Wewe mzee sikia. We have no business within our government. Hatuna haja na hatugojei wewe. We are not looking for you and we have no time. Stop saying that people can force you to come to this government. Forget about being forced or coerced. We are not interested because sisi tuko na kazi ya kufanya.
Kama kuna mtu ako na namba ya William Ruto arekodi hii video mtumie. Maisha yangu tangu nizaliwe sijawahi kuona mtu muongo, mfisadi, baradhuli, dhabdhabina kama William Samoei Ruto. Mimi Hassan Joho nikitaka kuongea, mimi I don't even dream of engaging with them. Ati huyu akitaka aje aongee sio na mimi niongee na Ruto nini? Mimi nikamtafute atanipa nini? Wilbaro. I wonder. Nilipeleka Wilbaro mimi la kimtaani la kucheza nalo zamani.
We have a choice to reject over 60% of these names or give President Ruto his skunk. Apart from a few individuals who are not even more than 8, the rest are incompetent, unqualified, have integrity issues, are people who cannot deliver this country from where it is to the next level that we want the country to move in.
A few moments later.
Now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with SpiceFM.
It's warming up in Nairobi, but just slightly. So now the sun is coming out, but the temperatures are still 13 degrees. It's similar to Nyeri, 13 and mostly sunny. Nakuru is warm, 15. Eldoret is warm, 14, mostly sunny. Kakamega, 21 and sunny. Mombasa, mostly sunny at 22. Malindi, 26 and sunny. Kisumu, 23 and cloudy. Mogadishu, sunny at 27. Now that is sunny, okay? See, it's not sunny at 13. Lagos, Nigeria, clear skies at 24. Dar es Salaam, sunny at 22. Johannesburg, sunny at 7. Kinshasa, sunny at 19. Kampala, sunny at 19. Paris, partly sunny at 14. London, partly sunny at 16. Beijing, sunny at 33. It's clear skies tonight in New York at 25.
Spice up your life.
Limuru Road heading towards Muthaiga and out of Muthaiga is busy. Westlands coming towards town near the Westlands roundabout as you join the expressway is quite busy, and you know where this is. This is at Mogoga Green coming towards town, so it's a bit of a traffic build up there. Langata Road was much worse 30 minutes ago. It's now clear. Actually, Langata Road is clear. Aerodrome is clear. Only getting some slight issues at the Bunyala roundabout. And thereafter, it's clear. Only up again, Railways Bridge into Haile Selassie Avenue. Ngong Road is busy at the City Mortuary roundabout along Daystar Campus heading towards Agwin Catholic Road. That's where the traffic is. And then there are other places near the lights. What is happening around the North Airport Road? It's now getting a bit better. So as you're coming from Embakasi, coming towards the Mombasa Road, North Airport Road is busy. After Outer Ring, coming towards City Cabanas, thereafter it's clear. Mombasa Road then gets busy around Imara Daima. If there's anything major that we need to remind everybody about, please let us know at SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with Wakili Evans Ogada, law lecturer, editor-in-chief, the Platform for Law, Justice and Society. We are talking about the nominees for Cabinet Secretary and the vetting that was taking place in Parliament. So, Wakili, before we went to the break, I asked you this question. So, do we have a uniform methodology that these committee members are using to say, on this matter, I score, in terms of understanding of the docket, I score them this. In terms of their questions on their integrity and personal integrity, I score this. In terms of, past performance in dockets or in other public service, I score. Is there anything like that?
I didn't get the impression that that was present with the parliamentary vetting process, at least for this committee, for the reason that if there was any scoring that was being done, we could see people writing. I didn't see anyone writing. And then you could tell that one particular member, he was milking one question too much. you can't
what question
repeat. You have a repertoire of questions to go through. So when you repeat one on cooperatives and you narrow down on one particular aspect, it shows that this is perhaps the only thing you prepared for. And there's this, I put it to you, more or less like a comment instead of a question. So it tells you that we were just running through the motions. And to also lend credence to this lack of uniform criteria, there was this question that was posed to the nominee, Ministry of Labour. And this one riled me up a little bit.
This is Dr. Mutua.
Yes. So when he says that he will send lawyers to the Gulf, and that these Kenyan lawyers, city, are supposed to help with the skewed laws that are harming Kenyans here. Nobody picked him out on that. Because you see, these labor agreements are bilateral. Kenya, Saudi Arabia, whatever countries, you enter into a bilateral agreement on migrant workers.
Right.
Absent of that, we have International Labour Organization agreements and treaties. Those are what we rely on. So Alfred Mutua has no capacity to look at any treaties entered into between Kenya and any other state, and certainly ILO treaties.
Why not?
He's not the minister for CS for Foreign Affairs. That is where treaties, the Department of Treaties is located.
But a labor agreement is actually signed by the Labor Ministry. Like the one that Kenya and Saudi Arabia signed, wasn't it the Ministry of Labor in Kenya and the Ministry of in charge of those matters in Saudi Arabia, with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
You sign it, but the technical legal capacity is provided from the Office of the Attorney General and certainly from Foreign Affairs. So for you to say, I'm sending lawyers, you need to consult who? The Attorney General. The Attorney General will identify if there are any gaps. We'll look at the treaty. Is what Alfred Mutua proposing, is it possible? Can we relook at this treaty? Are we able to open up this treaty? So that we don't venture into the arena of populism. You just open your mouth for the show. We look at the treaties. That's not a campaign rally. This is a solemn occasion whereby you are counting to the people of Kenya, please respect our intelligence. And this is why the young men and women went to the street. Because you are insulting our brains by giving us populist answers. You just want to tick the boxes. Because if we had questions that were written down and we had people who were focused on their task, these questions should have been answered. The cooperatives man, I had him answer, and his appreciation
this is Wycliffe Oparanya.
Yes, his appreciation of cooperatives. Cooperatives and labor law, these are twins in terms of their philosophical appreciation. These are socialist in nature. They are expected to ameliorate the conditions of the person. And you'll trace the origin of cooperatives and labor laws to circa 1945, after the World War II, whereby we are trying to improve the conditions. Cooperatives were like our chamas. People come and meet and we try to help our lot. So when you talk of this thing called Hustler Fund, which has no structure and has been a disaster, and it's intended to operate like a bank, a capitalist structural model, does it give you the impression of somebody who understands what cooperatives were meant to do? When you talk of workers being exploited and challenges being there for the workers, what are these specific challenges? Is it labor?
Yeah.
Is it work condition? What are the challenges with those treaties? you need somebody with this in mind, because I was telling somebody yesterday with a flippant response that came from Dr. Mutua. If he goes and meets these labor ministers who are socialist in mind or lawyers, thoroughbred lawyers, he will be flawed seriously. It will be an embarrassment to the Republic. Because you find somebody like Lula da Silva. This is somebody who's been in the trenches in terms of the labor movement all over the world. He's the president of Brazil. So you're going to have a conversation with Lula da Silva on labor matters. And then you go throw out things like...
I'll bring lawyers.
Come on, you look stupid. And that's why we insist on having the right person for the right job. People who think and think on behalf of the Republic. Think long term. People who can make sensible decisions.
Then you've actually taken us to now the fundamentals. How then do we choose our legislators? Because clearly the representation is wanting. Now, everything that you've said begs the question, do our legislators actually understand this?
Legislators and the parliament currently under Moses Masika Wetangula has been a disappointment. I have seen people open their mouths in that house. A good number are disappointing. So we as citizens need to ask ourselves on the ground, are we making the right decision? Or do we need to take only the 500, the 200 and elect people with horrible grades?
But is it grades? Remember, you mentioned very clearly that our constitution provides us with a marking scheme.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, this marking scheme, if you want to have examiners, because the vetting committees are examiners.
Yes.
So, should we then not make sure that these examiners are actually the people who are qualified to examine these people?
Actually, there's supposed to be layers of examination and which we have failed. We have something that we have never considered and taken seriously in this country called constitutional conventions. Constitutional conventions, Eric, these are habits that ingrain integrity. So, for example, in the UK city, we had this minister who came in late for Prime Minister questions time by about 5 minutes. He said, I have come in late. I feel bad. I've let the Prime Minister down. I've let the government down. I'm resigning. He resigned on the floor. In other countries, I have been accused of having a girlfriend. Just the mere mention of me having a girlfriend. I'm a jitoa. Constitutional conventions are just manners of good habit. I cannot offer myself for leadership because of 1-2 frailties. What happens here? Somebody is a crook, stole from a parastatal somewhere, amassed a lot of money, gets that money, goes and buys his way to elected office. IEBC, we should be using Chapter 6 as filters to strike out of some of these candidates. What does IEBC do? Passes them. We go to court, and the judiciary let us down on this one. We have this Institute for Public Policy case, the Uhuru Ruto case. We also have Momo Matemu Court of Appeal. The import of these two cases was that until somebody goes through the rigors of a full case trial and is adjudged to be guilty, that person is free to run for office. And that's why we have all these jokers. People who city cannot even head cattle dips in certain serious countries. My good friend Piolo Lumumba says that some of these people, you are a glorified thief. You will not be sanitized if you get into office. That's why we have people who can't even think, can't express themselves, being sanitized through these flawed, skewed processes.
So then what does a situation then currently hold on matters of integrity? Because you're saying that one of the things that we'll be looking for, one of the principles of good governance is on personal integrity.
Yes.
That's in the Constitution.
Yes.
What does it mean? And what should you have been seeing with all these nominees? A matter of personal integrity. What question should they be asked to bring out their personal integrity?
We need to see questions that call for reflection. And for me, the president lost it with this moment. This for me was a constitutional moment. If I were him, I wouldn't have returned those who served with me in the last cabinet. Somebody like Professor Kindiki, who served in internal security. People were killed. We saw this young man who was shot and his brain splattered under your watch as CS. As a question of integrity, personal integrity, I cannot come back to the same docket in good conscience, leading the same office after having sanitized what the police did. That's a question of personal integrity. I cannot in good conscience lead. I fail for one or two reasons.
So it's a matter of conscience.
It's a question of conscience, but
and personal bar, or is there a uniform bar by which now we say this is our bar as a society? Because Kithure Kindiki was asked these questions about what happened, the protests, this current protest, last year's Sufuria protests, and he said, I am not the Inspector General of Police. There's a National Police Service Commission, and there's an Inspector General of Police, and there's an entire command structure. I provide policy, which says my conscience is clear. So according to him, in good conscience, he's fit to continue serving in that docket. So
doesn't sound like kicking the can down the road. I mean, if that then was the case, are we then saying that even if it's an independent office, that they are not situated in any ministry, they are not situated in any docket within the government, that they are so standalone that they are devoid of any oversight? Is that what he was saying? Because that's what his office is supposed to do. He is the minister.
We've had ministers out there resign for just making false statements.
Yes.
He is on record as having sanitized the killings on the street. So I think that is a far stretch from the CS. Nominee.
So that's what I ask then. Against whose bar? Because Professor Kithure Kindiki came and said, I, in good conscience, believe that I can still serve in this docket. All right? So if the vetting committee comes and says, we, in our collective good conscience, believe that Kithure Kindiki should continue serving, can anybody question? I mean, what's the bar here?
We failed. The bar is there in the Constitution, Article 73, as read with 75. We have failed to nurture, because Chapter 6 should have been the moral part of the Constitution, the moral, ethical part. And how you enforce that, you just don't enforce it through the court system. It is enforced through practices and traditions. So, for example, at cabinet level, the mere whiff of problems with a certain candidate, we agree as a cabinet. When you're mentioned in terms of these problems, the siren issues here on the road, bullying us on the road, cabinet secretary, that's becoming, you go out, step out. And indeed, Willie Mutunga started us off well, and people didn't understand what Willie Mutunga did. When the then Chief Justice was accused of pinching somebody's nose, that was Deputy Chief Justice. That was a quote-unquote minor thing. But what Willie Mutunga did was he put pressure on his then deputy and said, Madam, you'll have to go so that we maintain the integrity of the office. The pinching of the nose was not as egregious as some of these things. But what Mutunga was trying to present to us was the possibility of people seeing that the office is above you, the person.
He was introducing that culture.
That culture. But you see, for a constitutional convention, since they are dependent on sustenance and long practice, we have not done well in that aspect. Because at some point, we had the Kimunyas of this world who came and told us, I'd rather die than resign.
Still alive, though.
Still alive, though. We have people here who
was removed from office.
Yes, he was.
We have people here who are accused of all manner of scandals. And then they will come and tell you, the legalese, we'll have to wait for the court process, due process, as you hear them say. Chapter 6 was to have been maintained by a political culture.
Okay, so in your opinion, Wakili,
yes,
let's talk about, for example, Wycliffe Oparanya.
Yes.
There is a civil case ongoing in court.
Yes.
About him, and there's a court order in place that has frozen part of his accounts as this civil case continues. And the civil case has been instituted by the EACC because they're saying that we believe that he has some wealth that was not properly acquired. And that's why there's a civil case and a court order saying freeze the accounts. There's an ongoing live case. There's the other on the back and forth about the criminal case of receiving money through corrupt means. I don't know whether that's the proper terminology or whatever.
Yes.
But where the DPP had initially approved, made a decision to charge, and now the DPP again, late last month, rescinded that decision to charge.
Yes.
But there's been this question. So in this kind of high bar and culture for high levels of integrity, should Wycliffe Oparanya have been on this panel?
Certainly not. You stay out, clear your name, and then come and offer yourself for leadership. Because you see, he will be going into office with this haze of suspicion around him. And the other danger that pertains with that kind of entry, an entry that is this problematic, we have history. We are all Kenyans, we know. They go in there and then they use the political office for leverage to frustrate all manner of legal attempts to deal with them. That's why you see every other day cases being withdrawn, witnesses not coming forth, all manner of things. The very essence for you to stay out is for us to have equal levers. The process continues in the normal manner. You're cleared and you say, I am clean. I have nothing against me. The court adjudged that I'm innocent. But when you go in this kind of cloud and with the potential that you're going to karabati vitu nyuma,
manipulate,
it's not right.
There's always the lingering question of, it's a quest that we keep pursuing.
Yes.
With every generation, we keep pursuing it. And from what I see, those who are hell-bent on ensuring that this accountability discussion and anything that has to do with the rule of law, it appears that those who just want to speak of it and not follow it seem to be continuously winning the day. Because with every government, we saw with the Uhuru government,
yes,
things that you look at and it goes beyond your imagination.
Yes.
This government comes in, they take it a notch higher.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And so you wonder, really?
It's deliberate. It's deliberate. If, in terms of constitutional law and history, City, there is a constitution called the Weimar Constitution of the 1930s Germany. Very good constitution, Bill of Rights, with all these beautiful ideas and aspirations. That constitution was frustrated by vested interests and politics, because our vested interests in this country are big money business, people who made money while in government, and their acolytes. So those are the ones who frustrate it. The Weimar Constitution, good constitution, but they create parallel structures to it. So that you have a constitution. Me and Eric will spend time talking about 73, 75, Bill of Rights, but they create circumstances and contexts to shadow the constitution and to undermine it. That undermine of the constitution, that aspect of undermining the constitution, the Weimar Constitution, led to Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich. So that phenomenon has been studied in constitutional law, whereby unless you keep vigilance, you keep having these people putting their feet over the fire and holding them to account, they will undermine the constitution that you will no longer recognize it. You'll have a very beautiful constitution on paper, but in terms of its implementation and even in court, you will have nothing to enforce. So it's deliberate.
So as you conclude in 40 seconds, Okili, what would you tell Kenyans? So we expect that this committee will present its report to Parliament probably tomorrow.
Yes.
What should we expect from citizens, not from the committee anymore?
From the citizens, look at what will be presented. If you're not satisfied, exercise your constitutional rights, go to court, speak out, do whatever you can do as a citizen within the boundaries of the law. Let us not lose hope. This is our country. This is our generation. If things go on this way, we will have no country to live in. Life will become unbearable. We only have one country. So let's keep at it.
Thank you very much, Wakili. So keep it here. Let's see how the committee will report back to the House, probably tomorrow, and then let's see also the vetting that happens. Wakili Evans Ogada is a law lecturer, editor-in-chief of the Platform for Law, Justice and Society. It's 9 a.m. news time.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. As Gen Zs gear up for another round of protests this week in their continued push for reforms in the country, Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang has said the demonstrations will be unprecedented. In an interview with a local TV station, Kajwang has cautioned the government against underestimating the young people's resolve to push for good governance.
We have educated our children, given them the best education, exposed them to the effects and forces of globalization, and they are able to see what works in other countries. And they ask themselves why it does not work in this country. We are in an era where, even if you look at the American elections, artificial intelligence has become center, and it can be used for good or bad, for spreading information or for spreading misinformation. We have an event on 8th of August this week where we are hearing in the social media spaces that you are going to have the mother of all protests on Nane Nane. And you cannot underestimate it, because if you're using the virality of social media and also artificial intelligence, a lot of young people can be moved and they can willingly and voluntarily go out on the streets without being sponsored by anybody.
Meanwhile, the Gen Zs have insisted that their protest will go down on Thursday as planned. This lady is one of them.
No one is against the government. We are against the bad leadership. If that means we are against the government, then we are against it because they're not listening to us. Nikianza kuongea story ya leaders, I will lose it because it's always something that pisses me off. But nane, we march, we go. If Ruto hata shuka, we have to send the message, whichever the case. And people should not walk alone. People should be in groups. If you're on space, make sure you update. VPNs were discussed. Everything that has been said here, just use that information for your own safety.
In Homa Bay County, ODM female leaders have recommended the appointment of Governor Gladys Wanga as deputy party leader following the nomination of Wycliffe Oparanya and Hassan Joho to the cabinet. Led by ODM women's leader, Homa Bay branch Perez Ogutu and Rangwe ODM chairperson Caroline Owithi, they've appealed to their party leader Raila Odinga to approve Wanga for the job.
And as women of Homa Bay County, we are requesting that Her Excellency Gladys Atieno Nyasula Wanga to be the first deputy party leader as a woman in Kenya, because she's capable, she can manage it, and we are grateful and we support that. Let her be supported.
This even comes as a section of young people in Kisumu recommended Kisii Governor Simba Arati for the position. The Cabinet Secretary nominee for Gender, Culture and Heritage, Stella Langat, has said she'll be hesitant to advise the President to dissolve Parliament over failure to enact legislation to actualize the two-thirds gender rule. Appearing before the Parliamentary Vetting Committee on Sunday, Langat said she'll not revisit the radical advice given to the President by former Chief Justice David Maraga to suspend Parliament for allegedly neglecting to fulfill the constitutional requirement. She said if approved, she'll engage with relevant stakeholders to come up with relevant legislations that will help to mainstream the two-third gender rule.
There are initiatives under the Gender Inequality Commissions and proposals to initiate issues on amendment of the Constitution to address the gaps which have not been addressed under the legislation. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am aware also that the issues of two-third gender rule is a big challenge, especially in leadership under the National Assembly and appointee positions, because we are lacking the legislative platform where operationalizing the two-third gender rule is supposed to be guided through.
At least 76 people have been killed in Bangladesh amid worsening clashes between police and anti-government protesters. The unrest comes as student leaders have declared a campaign of civil disobedience to demand that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina step down. Police said in one district, 13 police officers were killed when thousands of people attacked a police station. The student protest started with a demand to abolish quotas in civil service jobs last month, but has now turned into a wider anti-government movement. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
Waliletea fujo Moi mpaka wakapata cooperation. Wakakuja wakasumbua Kibaki mpaka wakachukua nusu mkate. Wamekuja wakazungusha Uhuru hapo mpaka wakaenda na handshake, program yetu ikapotea, BBI ikaendelea, tukazama, tukaingia kwa madeni. Sasa mimi nimewaambia, hii serikali hii, mimi nawaambia hii serikali ni ya mahasla. Hakuna nusu mkate, hakuna handshake, hakuna hiyo borojo.
Jana nimeona wale wazee tulishinda. Ati hiyo mzee akisema ati he will not be coerced or intimidated to joining our government. Wewe mzee sikia. We have no business within our government. Hatuna haja na hatugojei wewe. We are not looking for you and we have no time. Stop saying that people can force you to come to this government. Forget about being forced or coerced. We are not interested because sisi tuko na kazi ya kufanya.
Kama kuna mtu ako na namba ya William Ruto, arekodi hii video mtumie. Maisha yangu tangu nizaliwe sijawahi kuona mtu muongo, mfisadi, baradhuli, dhabdhabina kama William Samoei Ruto.
Mimi Hassan Joho nikitaka kuongea, mimi I don't even dream of engaging with them. Ati huyu akitaka aje aongee sio na mimi niongee na Ruto nini? Mimi nikamtafute atanipa nini? Wilbaro. I wonder. Nilipeleka Wilbaro mimi la kimtaani la kucheza nalo zamani.
We have a choice to reject over 60% of these names or give President Ruto his skunk. Apart from a few individuals who are not even more than 8, the rest are incompetent, unqualified, have integrity issues, are people who cannot deliver this country from where it is to the next level that we want the country to move in.
A few moments later.
Now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Yeah. So, North Airport Road is okay, but then it's still building up as you get into City Cabanas and that interchange to get into Mombasa Road. So Mombasa Road is busy at Imara Daima. It's horrible. From City Cabanas coming towards town, horrible. Imara Daima, horrible. Until you get to that funny silly roundabout that then at General Motors. And then thereafter at the ICD junction, it's bad. South B, South C is bad all the way to Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Now to the Southern Bypass interchange. That's why it eases off. And then it gets bad again in South B, South C at Bellevue heading towards town. That is what's happening on that road. Mombasa Road. Oh, yeah. Uhuru Highway, it's bad from what we call the Bunyala roundabout. The Bunyala roundabout is bad, so Aerodrome Road is also affected. Bunyala Road getting into Upper Hill is affected. Uhuru Highway heading into town at the Railways Bridge is busy. Landis Road is bad from City's Stadium roundabout all the way to Landis Road into the market. Horrible. Langata Road was okay. and now it's still bad. Thika Superhighway begins at Survey coming towards town. Ngara is bad. So just be patient wherever you are. Sasawa. Hi.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start... The only way to start your day.
Yes, it is. 10 minutes after 9. How are you doing? Thank you very much for keeping it locked right here. We are on to the final hour of the show this lovely Monday morning. Like you said, City. Mabi andu?
Inashughulikiwa. In fact, imeshughulikiwa. Yes, to be precise.
Very good.
Kila kitu iko bambam.
Iko bambam?
Yes.
Haya. Punde si punde?
Yes.
Ndio atakuwa hapa.
Yes.
Sawa basi. Punde si punde.
Yes. When you translate it into English, it's even more interesting. Punde didn't have a chance to become Punde. It had hardly become Punde. When?
Yeah. Punde had not even become Punde.
And then?
Yes.
Yes.
She was back here. So do you have 9,950? Say that in Kiswahili.
Inawezekana kwa wewe kwenye hesabu zako za hela uko na shilingi 9,950.
Now, if you got that money, head on to any Aga Khan University Hospital clinic near you. Go there and do a full comprehensive medical checkup. It's important to do a comprehensive medical checkup. Know how your body is faring, okay? They will do all those things. They'll check your blood sugars. They'll check your pressure. They'll check, mambo yote bwana. Tuseme tu mambo yote bwana.
When it's comprehensive, that's what it means. Whether it is sugar level, whether it is pressure level, whether it is any lurking disease that you don't know about. And it is to your advantage because, as they say, prevention is better than cure. Ukijua na mapema. Unajua nasema mapema ni best. Sio? If you get to understand your health and the conditions that you have, you can then take the appropriate action at the appropriate time.
Kabisa,
and save yourself a lot of pain and headache and bother and cost when then emerges and it's full blown, and then now you're in danger. Yes.
So they'll go there, they'll do some tests, check your pressure, draw your blood. People will
it's just for checking.
They'll draw your blood, urine sample, stool sample.
Yes.
How you get your stool sample lakini
bwana hali yako lazima ijulikane bwana.
Yeah, but how much stool is needed?
They'll give you a container.
So should you fill the container? And how do you actually put the stool in the container?
Well, why don't you ask about the urine then? Should you fill it? Well, usually it has a cover. And you can actually ask them, they will tell you. Like a quarter, like a nusu.
And the stool, how does the stool get from wherever?
From your body into that thing. Yeah. In the same manner in which it leaves your body when you're doing your other businesses.
So how do you put it there?
Well, that
the other times you don't even deal with it.
They actually give you the container and something with which you can manage it.
So how do you do it? I've always wanted the doctor to tell me. So go.
Okay, it's your stool.
Should you let it first of all get into the bowl of the toilet and then you scoop it from the bowl of the toilet?
It is your stool, okay? They want it in this container. Now you figure out.
Because if you let it go into the bowl, then it may get contaminated.
That is absolutely correct.
So,
that is a question you could ask. Urine, I understand. Yeah, it's straightforward, from your body to the container. This other one, tricky.
It's tricky.
Well, you ask.
Okay. When you go to the Aga Khan University Hospital Clinic and they give you that thing and they tell you bring stool sample, waambie unataka niitoe aje.
Maoni yako vile unaona hii tungeweza kuifanya namna gani? Yes. In many cases they tell you to go with it home. Unaenda nyumbani urudishe kesho. Yes.
Hata kienda nyumbani it's the same.
I understand.
Anyway, let's move to the next conversation. So 9,950 comprehensive, right?
Kabisa.
Comprehensive health cover. Sawa basi. Now, let's talk about grassroots leadership and politics, devolution, from the angle of devolution. We are joined by two civic leaders from Mombasa County. One of them is Patrick Mbele. He is the member representing the people of Bamburi Ward in the County Assembly of Mombasa. And Abdurrahman Hussein is representing Old Town in the County Assembly of Mombasa. Waheshimiwa, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Eric. Karibuni sana. This is the hot seat of the situation room. Hebu sema hot seat na Kiswahili, Abdurrahman.
Kiti joto. Ama kiti moto. Inatupa joto ya. That is what it means.
Patrick, how would you say that? This is the hot seat of the situation room. Sasa sema kwa Kiswahili.
Hiki ndicho kiti moto. Katika sehemu ya maongezi.
Alright.
Sawa
basi tu.
Basi.
Labda ndio hivyo sijui.
Wewe ndio umetufunza bana. Sisi hatujui bana.
Lakini Abdurrahman anatoka Old Town kule kwa Swahili vizuri.
Kule deep.
Kule deep. Sasa atuambie kabisa.
Abdurrahman,
I think he said it better. Yeah. I can't say it better than that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Now, CT will give you the day's proverb. He says this week and last week and probably next week as well.
Yeah, we'll do it for up to next week and then we'll move on to, yes.
He's giving us proverbs from landlocked countries in Africa. Mheshimiwa Abdurrahman, give me one landlocked country in Africa.
On top of my head,
and
Uganda.
Don't say Uganda.
Okay. DRC Congo?
No, it's not.
It is not?
No.
A landlocked country, maybe Nigeria.
No.
It's not again?
Nope.
Okay. A landlocked country, in my opinion, is... Okay, what I understand is a country that does not border any water body, right?
Large water body.
Large water ocean.
Yes,
it should be large.
Yes, large.
Lakes don't count.
Lakes are within the country,
don't count.
Yes.
Sudan.
Patrick, we're coming to you.
Sudan?
Good.
Yes.
Sudan, no.
So no. South Sudan.
Very good.
Yeah, South Sudan.
Yeah. Patrick, no,
I take Chad.
And don't say Uganda.
No. Chad.
You'll take Chad.
Chad and the Central African Republic, if I'm not wrong. Are they?
Baba, geography ilikutatiza kidogo ulipokuwa shule?
I didn't take geography, by the way. I did history.
Basi ndio hiyo sasa.
Yeah.
It's showing.
Is Chad wrong?
No.
Chad is right.
He's right.
Chad is right.
Chad is landlocked, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well done, Mheshimiwa. Well done.
You're both right.
No more questions.
Botswana is also...
Botswana is landlocked.
It's landlocked.
Botswana, eh?
Yeah.
Incidentally, City.
The proverbs for this week are from Botswana. Yes.
Okay.
Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood.
Wow.
Eyes can see widely. They can
cross a river in full flood.
See, the good thing about Proverbs is you can never get them wrong. It is from your own perspective. And this proverb, in my opinion, speaks to the power of vision and how far vision can take you there. So when you say, for instance, say that again, please.
Eyes can see widely. They can cross a river in full flood.
Yes, before you take any action, before you cross the river, before you cross any water body, you have to visualize it. Before you overcome any barrier, you have to visualize it first. You have to have the vision.
Good one.
That's my thinking.
Good one. Barambele.
The other side of that proverb is that in the physical nature, eyes are meant to make you see. So if you do not open your eyes, you do not see the barrier. Same to what he said, vision.
that this proverb speaks about vision and the power of having vision. If you do not open your eyes, then you don't see the barrier ahead of you, which means probably you cannot or never cross.
Sawa basi.
These two gentlemen got it.
Wameifafanua fiti kabisa.
Very well. Very, very well. So your experience in the County Assembly of Mombasa, how many times have you served, Abdurrahman?
This is my first time.
Patrick?
Same to me. First time.
First time?
Yes.
What made you get into this elective politics and why? Why MCA? The Constitution actually calls this position what? Ward representative.
Yeah.
Why?
Should I go first?
Go first.
I got into politics because I was tired of complaining. I was tired of apportioning blame to everyone. I was fed up with the system. I was fed up with the way things were running, especially in my area. And I thought the best way to do it is to throw the hat in the ring. And I got into the ring, and it feels as hot as this seat.
What did you want to change?
I wanted to change everything. That's basically why I joined politics. But then I
everything
thought,
in Old Town or everything in Mombasa or everything in Kenya?
Okay, I wanted to start with Old Town first. Yeah. An MCA is the basic unit of devolution. It is the basic position where you can interact with, where you have a direct contact with the electorates. So I wanted to feel what it feels like to be in contact with the electorates, to get their views, and to represent them well in the assembly. So that's the reason I joined politics, to make a difference.
Patrick?
Mine was a different reason. I used to work in government between 2013 and 2022. And
county or national government?
County government, actually of Mombasa. And I used to see how things are running. Some I was okay with, some was not okay with. And I told myself, if I'm to deal with the ones that I'm not okay with, I probably need to get into that assembly and do something. But the larger reason was I was a blue economy activist. At that time, blue economy was just a new buzzword. So I had friends who would take me through what blue economy is about. And I thought, if I get into that place, probably I might be able to implement this thing, this big giant called blue economy, probably to its either conclusion or make it beneficial for the people that I have. And at that time, I was also a student leader. So I understood that these students who are getting out of school, there's no other chance they're going to get, probably particularly in Mombasa. So I thought blue economy, and I can only implement it when I'm at the assembly. That was the reason I got into that place.
You mean in the executive you couldn't?
There was a lot.
What is it that's different that the assembly can do that the executive cannot?
The assembly actually, leave alone on matters of checking up what the executive is doing, but we usually plan development from the assembly. It's more of the steering of government. So if the steering is not well, prepared and taken to the right direction, the entire government falls. So is the programs.
So you both agree, basically, that the county assembly, which comprises the ward reps, those are the ones who are actually the basic unit of development.
No doubt about that.
Right? Do the citizens understand that?
Well,
is that the same perception that citizens have of their ward rep, the MCA, and the assembly?
To be honest, in the eyes of the citizens, we play a different role.
And what role is this?
Apart from the roles in the Constitution, we play a different role. An MCA is a first line of savior, is the first line of rescue to your ward reps. You are that person that they run to in case of any issue, be it economical, be it social. You are that person that they run to whenever they get into problems and they feel like you can do magic and you can get things done. That's what it feels like to be an MCA.
And what kind of solution? Are they looking for you to provide a pathway to a solution, or are they looking at you to be the solution?
Ideally, they should look for us to be the pathway to solutions. But they want you to be the solution and give them the solutions On the spot.
There and then.
There and then.
Patrick, is it the same for you?
Yeah, and I think even from the topic that you have today, you've talked about grassroots leadership. I think an MCA is the true grassroots leader. The rest are leaders. But the MCA is a grassroots leader. And as he says, we are the first line of defense, first line of attack, first line of rescue. Mwananchi akitaka kulaumu, first person alaumu is the MCA. Akitaka msaada, first person, wakati ni mgonjwa anakuja kwako. Akitaka sasa kukaa na wewe kupiga story, they can only find the MCA on ground. So the MCA is the SI unit of leadership and the true grassroots leader.
Then I think the citizen understands very well the role of the MCA.
Not really.
I don't
because
think
what you've explained, if that is what the citizen understands, what's wrong with that?
But that is not the role of the MCA.
What is the role of the MCA?
3 basic roles.
Okay.
The legislation, representation,
and
oversight.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is that different from those things that you've said?
Totally different.
How?
Eric, we bear the brunt of political frustrations. They can't reach to the MP because the MP is not around. They definitely can't get hold of the governor. Because the governor is somewhere, you need to book an appointment with. The women rep, well, you can say it. For the senator and the president, they can't get hold of them. So you are the person that they run to.
As the first representative.
So
they come to you as the representative.
Yes.
For you to play your role as a representative.
True.
Then?
But now you see, they come to you not just for representation, but they equally demand for resources. And the resources at that moment is hard cash, not budgeted money. They want hard cash there and then, or a solution there and then.
Okay. This brings in the question of, when you look at your constituents, their understanding of what a representative should do, you put it well, to meet their needs. Somebody has an economic problem, health problem to do with education, all these things. Now, don't you then think that perhaps the task that you have before you is to get your constituents to understand, one, not just your role, but what it is that the government or the county of Mombasa, what that should do for them?
Exactly as you say.
I'm asking, should you not then get them to understand? Because everything you've told me, you've said, indicates that they actually, if they understand it, it's a remote understanding. What they understand is the immediacy that you speak of.
Yes, and rightly so. That brings the aspect of civic education. And that is what we normally engage in most of our time. You see, when devolution came, a lot of things were transitions. Buildings were transitioned. The human resource aspect was transitioned. But information was not transitioned. Civic education was not transitioned. And that leaves a gap in educating the electorates on the roles and what to expect of their leaders. And that's where we come in. We engage them. That's why we try to educate them. This is the much that I can do. This is how I can represent you better. But I am not mandated to do this and that. Yeah.
I'm not the one to offer that solution directly. It shall come to you through the government.
Yes.
Because that's the role of the government.
True.
Okay.
The role of the executive, yeah.
I see that as just citizens are demanding services from the government. Okay? Now, and what's the genesis of this? The genesis of this is that there is frustration. They feel that the government does not provide the services as it should. National government is not providing the services that it should be providing. County government is not providing the services that it should be providing. Let's say county government, in terms of healthcare, all the way basic healthcare to the health center level, right? Where if I feel that I need health services, I will walk to a health center. I will get all the services at that health center. I will go back home. Now, because I don't get that, I have to take my family member to Coast General Hospital or to the nearest private hospital where I'll accrue bills. I have to pay the bills. That's why I'll come to my representative. I hear what them saying. They're just expressing their frustration. That I expect to be getting a service. I'm not getting a service. So now that I put you there so that you can make sure I'm getting the service, so can you sort me out in the interim as you...
Or have you considered that you are considered to be part of the executive?
Exactly the point. And I think right from what he said, that so much was devolved. And the physical and fiscal is what the Mwananchi understands well. But when it came to roles of leaders, during the transition time, it was not well defined who is doing what. And that is one of the things that, as you say, bedevils devolution to death. So much is still hanging when it comes to information to the people. So until now, they still understand that an MCA is actually part of executive and should provide that which executive is supposed to provide. Not forgetting that we plan for the executive, give them the mandate to now deliver to the people. So when the executive fails, now they come back to us.
But then there are those who are of this firm belief that anyone who purports to be a politician, whether you're an MC or a member of parliament or a senate or a governor or even a president, it is this class of individuals in the country who give the citizen the impression that it is them who are the solution. Not the system, them, individually, personally. Mimi. When you're campaigning, how many things did you tell people you are going to do for them?
Well, we promised that we're going to make some changes in their lives through better policies, better laws, through proper oversight. That's exactly.
Did you include those the latter part in your?
In my manifesto, I had them.
But when you were meeting with the people,
everybody has them in their manifesto.
When you were engaging the people,
when I was engaging them
in Old Town,
yes,
and you tell them, hapa hivi maji, tutatua maji. Were you saying nitaenda kule, nitahakikisha kuna budget, nitahakikisha there's proper procurement ambayo italete maji, or were you saying italete maji?
What I said in my case is that I'll make sure that the responsible people will carry out the duties. I'll hold them personally responsible. Nitahakikisha kwamba serikali imewajibika.
You get it? These are ones who look good on radio. Where politicians always make anything that has to do with progress them. You're telling us that you guys are different.
You know what happened? The reason I think why you were elected at this age. Myself in a list of almost 25 aspirants.
25?
25. I think I was the youngest.
Those are many?
Yes.
No.
How old were you when you were elected, Patrick?
I was 31. Yeah.
And Brahman?
I was 33.
And how many candidates?
10 or 11 candidates. 11 candidates.
So in my case,
yes,
of the many 25, you see, everybody still has the notion that politics is now you go tell people, I have money, I'll solve everything. At my age, I told them, I do not have enough money to sort your problems. But there's a system here that we need to work together to make sure that we get it from the system. And I told them, I probably will not even have money to give you tomorrow. But there's this system that we can work together through public participation and all that. So what we did was to open their eyes to know that government has what you need.
Yeah. Government has the resources.
Has the resources.
Yes.
So at that moment they realize, oh, this guy probably knows where the money is. And that is why probably they elected us.
Okay.
My thinking.
So if they understood it so well, why are they demanding different now?
So you see what the expectation, the immediate expectation is that yes, you told us there's money. And you
we expected to go come with the money.
Go pick it and bring the money here.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not the development.
It's not the development.
They thought, sasa tumekutuma wewe, Patrick kwenda pale chukua pesa zetu.
Yes. Sasa amekuja, anataka kumpe yake.
Atakasha yake.
But the good thing is now, in as much as we face those problems, I don't think we face them as the leaders that came before us. Slowly the people are coming to understand that the government has monies for them, for their development, and for other solutions. The levels at which they come demanding for money from us nowadays, kuna zile ambazo is very genuine. Somebody tells you, I understand that it's your salary, but I'm just asking. My child is out of school today. I don't have enough. As I'm waiting for the bursary, please nisaidie na kidogo barudi. See, that's the humanity in politics. But kuna ile ingine ile ya kitambo, they come to your door and knock and lazima utupe. Kama una, at least now I can tell them, let's wait for the end of the month. When I have something, I can give you. And they would understand.
Nimekujia chai mimi, sijakunywa chai.
Hiyo iko pia. Mara moja.
Oh, yes.
Let's take a break. It's 26 minutes to 10. This morning we are talking about grassroots leadership and politics, trying to understand what bedevils devolution, what works and what doesn't work. Patrick Mbele is the member of the County Assembly for Bamburi Ward in Mombasa. Abdurrahman Hussein is for Old Town Ward in Mombasa. Both are young leaders in the County Assembly of Mombasa. Serving their first term, they got in there, they had a passion to change things, they had a passion to make sure that things are working, and then wakafika kwa ground.
Ground is different.
But maybe they're still working, and you'll tell us. Yes. Good morning. Keep it here.
Is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Baridi ni degree ngapi hapa?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Yes. He's the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, what's happening? 17 degrees and sunny in Nairobi, Mombasa, mostly sunny at 26. Malindi, 27 and sunny. Kakamega, 24 and sunny. Eldoret, 16 and sunny. Nakuru, 18 and sunny. Nyeri, 15 and sunny. Kisumu, 25 and sunny. And then we see Johannesburg is still sunny but cold at 9. Lagos, sunny at 25. Mogadishu, mostly sunny at 28. Addis Ababa, cloudy at 17. Dar es Salaam, sunny at 25. Kinshasa is mostly sunny at 20, and Kampala mostly sunny at 23. New York, clear skies going into the morning at 25. London, partly sunny at 17. Beijing, sunny at 34. Paris, sunny at 17. Limuru Road has cleared. It's looking okay. Thika Superhighway, it's still jam-packed. It stretches all the way back to Zave, coming towards town. Also, Kiambu Road is still busy. Muranga Road is all very, very busy through Ngara into Globe Cinema roundabout. It's busy. And then we have Landis Road, which is busy. Jogoo Road into City Stadium roundabout, out of the City Stadium roundabout, that's Landis Road, all the way into Haile Selassie Avenue in town, into Akulima Market, into Moi Avenue roundabout, very busy. Mombasa Road is busy at Imara Daima, heading towards town, and then it's cleared up, it's eased off a little bit, and then you get into Huru Highway, which is busy at the railways bridge, getting into Haile Selassie roundabout, and Haile Selassie railways coming into town is also still busy. It's also very busy on Kenyatta Avenue. This is along around the Serena area coming towards town, Kenyatta Avenue into town, busy. We know that this is that time when the roads now are getting busy as you get into the CBD. So just be patient. I hope the police are there. I hope the lights are working. But at least most importantly, I hope that you're patient.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with, well, we've been told not to call you Mheshimiwa, with Watumishi. Mtumishi Patrick Mbele from Bamburi Ward in Mombasa and Abdurrahman Hussein from Old Town Ward in Mombasa as well. It's about grassroots leadership and politics and marrying between the people's expectations, the constitutional provisions, and your own limitations in terms of what can and cannot be done immediately. Just getting to get all those things working. Now, I think one of the things that, like we said, people express their frustration to you, and also they come with the immediate demands. And they're saying, you know what, right now, like you said, Patrick, schools are going to be opening, someone needs to pay school fees, they don't have money to pay school fees, that they know that there's a bursary fund in government. And they come to you and they say, all right, so now that bursary is not sorting me out. So, as young leaders, what do you see as the solution to fast-tracking what should be done by government, and also to ensuring that a higher percentage of the budget that the county assembly makes, because you're the ones who make and approve the budget for the executive, that a bigger percentage goes towards service delivery and not into those recurrent expenditures, because that's what happens, right? And you've been there, Patrick. It's all on recurrent expenditure. X 100 billion shillings for travel, X million shillings to facilitate MCAs, X millions of shillings to facilitate the executive, kulipa stima, kununua gari. The amount of money that ends up going to health, kidogo. Amount of money that ends up going to early childhood education, kidogo. Agriculture, kidogo. Actual service delivery is minimized. Abdurrahman, how do you...
Actually, there's a provision in the Constitution, the PFM Act 2012, Section 15, subsection 2, that says that at least a minimum of 35% of the county budget shall be allocated to development. But on the ground, things are different, totally different. There's a ballooning wage bill. There's an ever-expanding recurrent budget. So we try to balance things out, but like you said, our role is to budget and appropriate. So to the best of our ability, we try to prioritize the areas we feel like we need to address, areas like health, education, infrastructure, and promoting tourism. Those are the areas that I feel like we have prioritized in Mombasa County. So yeah, our role is to make sure that those funds are appropriated well.
I'm always confused. Sorry to interrupt. I'm always confused with the terminologies and the definitions, and you can help us here. When you talk about recurrent and development, does recurrent mean salaries and mandas and chai, or does recurrent also include buying medicine for hospitals?
Buying medicine is a recurrent.
Okay.
It's not a development.
Bus.
It's something you do it.
Because it's a recurrent. Right?
Bursary is a recurrent.
Is a recurrent.
Yes.
So how much of the actual, and that is well, those are the ones I call service delivery recurrent expenditures.
Yes.
Because once you ensure that there is enough money that's been allocated to buy medicine and other supplies in hospitals, to ensure that children are going to school and actually goes into education itself, that is service delivery. But how much of the recurrent expenditure in a budget of the county, of any county, actually goes to those service delivery aspects, and not to buying mandazi, to buying more vehicles, to facilitating external and internal, local local travel?
Eric, you make it seem like buying mandazis is an evil thing.
Nice.
It is not.
No. Not at the expense.
No.
Of a syringe in a hospital.
Of course, of course. I'm not. I'm saying that buying mandazi is not as essential as service delivery, but offices have to be filled. People have to be motivated, but above all, services have to be delivered. So, like you said, recurrent budget includes salaries, the personal emoluments, wages, and all that. And the Constitution is very clear that it is given at a ceiling of about 30%.
Yep. Let me just take it up from him. You see, when you said that we make the budget, and then probably later say it is okay or not, that is passing it. But the truth of the matter, what happens in most counties, the executive comes with a proposal.
Okay.
It makes the budget, comes with it as a big document, as a proposal, and then which is then committed to the Committee of Finance, who was supposed to go for public participation. Then afterwards, come back to the House, report to us that this is what the people have said is okay, then you pass it. So the basic person who sits in the chambers of Parliament or the Assembly, who is a normal MCA who is not part of the budgetary committee, most of the time interacts with the document, either during the public participation or when it comes in during report reading and hearing. But the executive comes in with a proposal. Okay. Now this proposal sometimes might or might not favor the people. And that is where the MCAs now come in to rescue the people. But here comes in the other bitter part that probably we all need to now have a discussion about. That the executive sometimes holds all these MCAs into a corner where then you have to abide with their proposal.
How do they do that?
Now, we are a bunch of how many? 41?
Yeah, plus elected.
41, plus, that is elected and nominated. Now, 41, everybody has interest for their ward. I have an interest for my ward. He has interest for his ward. Now, if the proposal favor my ward, then I will vote for it. So that is me plus the 11 nominated, because nominated speak for government. They speak for the ruling party. The ruling party is the executive. So you expect the 11 to really be in to say yes, plus myself who has a few goodies for my ward, himself who has a few goodies for the ward. So if we have 13 people, which is a quorum, the executive have their way.
Okay. How many wards does the Mombasa county have?
30 wards.
Right. There is this budget that has been brought in by the executive. Walk us through how it is you go to the public to participate in this budget. I'd like to understand.
Okay. I can take that. I happen to sit at the Finance, Budget and Appropriation Committee. So yeah, this is how it happens. The executive develops a proposal. It does public participation. It's taken to the cabinet. It's forwarded to the assembly. The first thing we do, we look at it. It's committed to the Committee on Budget and Appropriation. We also hold a public participation. Normally, a public participation, it's done at sub-county level, at constituency level, whereby the public is called and we tell them this is the document before us. We do validation. Is this what you've agreed with the county government? And necessary amendments, necessary proposals, submissions are made. And then we take it back to the county assembly. We draft a report to accommodate those changes. We also interact with the elected leaders at the assembly level, and we come to a consensus most of the time that, hey, this is what we have before us, and this is what have been allocated to this particular ward. This is what have been allocated in terms of roads, in terms of improvement of infrastructure. What do you guys think? So we deliberate there as well, but we also we give emphasis to the submissions we receive from the public. That is that.
And you're saying that this is carried out through all the 30 wards, 31 wards?
No, we might not have the funds, the budget to carry out in all the wards.
So what do you do?
But we do it at constituency level. For example, we have 6 constituencies in Mombasa. We do it at Vita, we do it at Likoni. Another public participation is done in Jomvu, Changamu, and Kisauni, and Nyali.
So at sub-county level?
At sub-county level.
How do you ensure that all the wards in that sub-county are represented in the meeting?
We try to publicize it. The constitution requires that we publish it in...
How do you publicize it? Just walk us through it. What do you do?
We do it through the Gazette notice. Some of us, we do it through our social media platforms. We use our office we use our office to to get the message out to the electorates in my ward, on other wards. So that's literally how we mobilize.
Do you use radio?
Yes, we use local radios as well.
How many local radios are there?
A couple of them. I don't have the
The
exact
reason why we
number.
ask this question is because, you see, we started by asking about the civic education. Yes, you have a budget. You will go through it. Of the people, the number of people whom you present this to in the various sub-counties that we have, yes, you will present it. But do you have an opportunity to get feedback as to what it is they think and know about what what has been presented? And how does this feedback come back?
Probably.
Yes.
I'd ask a question before I ask you a question. Have you ever been to any public participation?
Have I
for the
ever
budget?
been to any public participation
For
the budget?
For the budget?
For the budget.
No.
For the budget. For your ward?
No.
Now, that is where now we have our biggest problem. The normal public participation that happen, whether at the constituency level, or even sometimes when I go to my own grassroots level, because sometimes we do. I have done one. I'll be very honest, I've done one. And I call it a Bamburi People's Baraza. I sat down with them, took them through the budget, and told them, this is what is there. Do you agree? And they'd say, no, we don't agree with this and don't agree with that. I make a memorandum, which I present during the constituency level, sub-county level. But now, the problem is, most of the times, when the executive comes for public participation, and even the county assembly, those that show up for those public participations are the political friends of ours and of the other parties. So the other parties come to say no, and our parties come to say yes. So the clash...
So it's a shouting match.
It's a shouting match. So it's not about development anymore. It's about...
But it's about civic education. You see, the reason why we started off with how you get to educate your people. If I do not think whatever it is you've asked me to attend is not going to be of benefit to me, that is determined by the knowledge I have. Do people understand that the participation in this activity is actually of benefit to them, and that there is a direct benefit to them saying we want this, we don't want this, so that even when you're rolling out whatever is in the budget, they can say this is what we wanted and we're getting it, or we asked for it and we're not getting it.
Yes, therein comes the big elephant in the room, in that we take the views from the public, we document it. For example, I'll give you a case example. On the last finance bill that we had, the issue of Mogoka was a big topic in Mombasa County. The public participation that we went to, some section of the public vehemently supported that we increase the levies on Mogoka significantly, while others, the Miraa traders and the Mogoka sellers, were of the opinion that, hey, we are in business, you guys need to listen to us as well. So we had to balance that out. For example, in Nyeri, Kongowea, where the sellers are, definitely the Mogoka conversation, they were in favor of reduction of prices. But you'll come to Mvita, people will say, no, we don't want it.
We don't want Mogoka here.
We don't want Mogoka here, in fact. In fact, the conversation of Mogoka started at the assembly. It started with the finance committee. And we did that because there was an outcry, especially in all the sub-counties. So we had to hike the prices. We had to listen to the public. Although, at the end of the day, the majority will have their way.
So there was adequate public participation on that particular issue?
It was done.
Right?
Yes.
The people who were feeling strongly about it came out and they spoke. They said, here on this particular one, we are opposed or we are for. Okay. Now, you talked about the manner in which you publicize this. You use your own social media accounts, then you'll go to the meeting. Ahead of the meeting, what kind of mobilization is happening? You said there's publishing the Gazette notice. Okay, not many people will see that. Then you will go to radio stations. Is it always that there will be an announcement on the local radios ahead of this in good time to say, come one, come all to such and such place for public participation on budget? Or is it limited?
It is.
Does the county assembly have its own social media accounts and other platforms where people who are not able to come and they're not able to just write those long memoranda to submit in whatever format can actually have a platform where they come and comment.
Actually, to be fair, to be honest, our public participation has not been as engaging as we anticipated it to be. Normally, when you go for a public participation, you expect a room full of people who want to contribute to that particular bill. But what you find out is similar faces, same individuals, couple of 10 or 20 people there representing the entire constituency. And sometimes I understand why they feel that way. Yeah, they've given up on the system. They feel like whatever they say will not be captured. It's an exercise in futility. Nyinyi mshaamua and all that. That is the notion that is outside there. But it is.
But there's need to change it, which begs the question now. This matter that has been led by your age groups, okay, the one we call the accountability factor, the accountability protest, okay. Is it helping change views? Is it helping move people towards the citizenry being more educated, more sensitized to these matters?
We hold a very critical position, not just to sensitize them, but also to guide them towards what might also be beneficial to them in future. Today, everybody on every kijana wants to know what has government planned. But there's another, Kiswahili tunasemaga ukiota kidole kimoja mbele, kuna vitatu vinakuangalia, vinne. Now these four that look at us is that we the people are mandated by the Constitution to steer how the budget is supposed to be spent. And by that is during public participations. But you ask ourselves, how many of us, vijana, actually participate during those public participations and give our views and issues as to what should be done by government? When the booklet comes, it comes, of course, sometimes, and most of the times, I should say, it comes during that day. Most of the times I've been in public participations, when I was part of the executive, and even now, they would just say, hii imekuja kuchelewa, but there has to be a time when the people would say, hii document imekuja kuchelewa, we're not being part of this thing, go back. Bring it to us so that we look at it. So right now, I'm sure the country, there's that mood of we will reject and reject and reject. But again, are we following the due process of the law? Once you've said, tumeona, kai kama leo tunataka sisi, atujisikii na acha twende zetu. You know what you've done is, the executive of the assembly has taken pictures. They have said people came. There are 2 or 3 who spoke, and that is it. But there has to be a time when these young boys and girls, we the young boys and girls, and even the elderly, should now start knowing what the law says and what is their stake in the contribution of development, or even, as you say, recurrent issues that affect their lives. But otherwise, government is made of the same people who equally have interest. They want you to fail in your mandate so that they can benefit. So where have we failed as the people in this process? Because we equally have a stake to make sure that the government runs well.
How many young people are there in this assembly?
We are about 14 of us.
14 out of 31?
Yeah.
By young, you say at heart or by young?
By age, sindio?
Yeah,
35 and below.
35 and below. We are about 14 or 12. The youth caucus.
Should be less than that.
Less than that, 12.
Yeah. Elected.
Both elected and nominated.
Even nominated.
Yeah.
Elected kidogo.
Elected, no, nominated is just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, go on, your second part of that question.
As a caucus that represents the future, because that's what youthfulness does, it actually represents the future. When you meet in this caucus of yours, how exactly do you plan to ensure that Mombasa actually changes and that the mandate that you have as leaders and that the county has and the responsibility it bears for the people is actually carried out?
The current and past regimes have always had their way towards resource distribution.
Yeah.
And why that happens is, until now, there is no place in law which says counties should get this wards should get this percentage of resources. Akuna. And as a caucus, which I did a motion actually last week, and it passed. We sit down as a caucus. By the end of the day, one person has to carry the motion. So I was given the mandate to carry the motion for equitable distribution of resources in the wards. So what we are doing to try and shape up things in Mombasa County so that wards actually get their share is, one, we did a motion on equitable distribution of resources, which then mandated the executive not just to do a public participation, but to inculcate what the people say in budgeting for their monies. And it's not about distribution of monies equally on equity basis. What do the people need? Which ward is more developed and which ward needs to be taken from the dirt and taken way up? So the ward equitable share motion ilipita. The next thing is we're doing a bill so that the governor now, it will be mandatory for him. It's compelled to make sure that happens.
Fantastic.
But tukiacha hivi governor is ni mwanadamu. If tukikosana mimi na yeye, Bamburi will not get development. So you want to make it lazima apeleke pesa kwa ward.
A very good move. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today, and we wish you all the best. Yeah, someone has said, if there's anybody who had any doubt about youthful leadership emerging in Mombasa, well, there it is. And it's true that we can see the young leaders who are coming up in Mombasa, articulate, passionate. I hope you'll get more and more, convert even the ones that are currently in that assembly to be as passionate and think about service delivery for the people, as many as possible. Patrick Mbela, MCA Bamburi Ward, Abdurrahman Hussein, ati unaitwa Anza Fresh.
Anza Fresh. That's my political slogan.
MCA Old Town, you have been our guest. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. See you again tomorrow, God willing. It's 10 a.m.